Be cool, be kind, be classy. The cupcakes are sweet and sexy. Have fun and enjoy the journey. Just have a good attorney. No big whoop, no biggie. She lives near New York City. Not just a YouTube show. When you know, you better grab a straw. Learn about the law. It's cool here in the shade, sipping motions of lemonade. Cool heads will prevail, kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Oh, Melanie Little is going live. Oh no, where is Melanie? Follow the island's melody. Is a concert within reach. No surprise, she's at Jones Beach. She heard some music far away. Captain Jack Sack Harbor Bay. He sings and his piano plays. Not all sounds are waterways. Speaking Yiddish and Latin, it's not just for Manhattan. It's for Goethe and Machegas. Ridiculousness that insanus. Oy vey, Marcus. Proset, that's for schmucks. Be cool, be kind, be classy. My cupcakes sweet and sassy. Not just a YouTube show. When you know. Cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Melanie Little is going live.
We're back. Dimwit. How I love that word, dimwit. Proha Kelly can't wait for that show on the Dimwits podcast. I mean, dimwit. It's a perfect word, isn't it? One of those perfect words. Hi, Sarah. Sentencing should be interesting. Sentencing should be very, very, very interesting. Got a long crime up over here. They're not ready yet. But it's here. So there's that. Bonehead, dingbat. Yeah, all good words. All good words. For those of you who are new here, we use the word ducking a lot. We use the word ducking a lot. I don't curse on this channel, typically, if I can help it. And it's not because I don't do so in real life. It's because a lot of my viewers like to listen to me with their kids in their room. It's just the demographic of my viewer, and it kind of stuck. And for people who like to watch without headphones while they're working or something such as like that, it, it kind of stuck. Some of you like it. Jackie's got her popcorn and her Pop-Tarts ready. Yay. Hi, Tracy. Thanks for becoming a new member. And also Sassy Bartender became a new member. Welcome. And Tony became a new member as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. To those from this morning who I did not get a chance to thank because they came in after the stream ended. We covered Aiden Carney's hearing in Norfolk Superior Court, aka Turtle Boy, with Mark Betterow and Tim Bradle. We call them the Killabees. The Killabees. We got to listen to the audio first through the Zoom link that Glara was kind enough to send me. So everyone later on, if you didn't watch over there, or if you're watching on two devices, that's amazing. But go give Glara a thumbs up on that stream from this morning, because he did help a girl out, because we all had the wrong links and it was hard to get into that hearing. But we heard the audio, and then Court TV surprisingly played video after, and we had to suffer through some commercials, but we did it together and we watched it. Anybody noticed that Court TV is streaming live on YouTube a lot less lately? Have you noticed? SJ became a new member. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, Julie. Julie says, hello, Melmods in chat. Rumor has it Sarah used an entire pad of paper to address the court. Oh, I can't wait. I'm here with bells on. I don't have a Dr. Pepper with me, but I'm going to turn you on to something that my kids turned me on to. As you know, I have 5 of them. And they have all kinds of secrets. And they turned me on to the Dirty Dr. Pepper. Do you guys know about the Dirty Dr. Pepper? Okay. You have to get it at Sonic, apparently. This is the only place you can get the Dirty Dr. Pepper. You could probably make it yourself. I don't really know what's in it. But our Sonic is kind of far away. So last night, my twins went on a sojourn. They went on a sojourn to Sonic late night. And I was like, I need my dirty Dr. Pepper. And I get a diet Dr. Pepper with it. Coincidentally, when we were at the Karen Reed fundraiser, whenever that was, last Saturday, was it a week ago? There was a Sonic right across the street from the hotel where I was staying. We were all staying, or some of us were staying. And I made the very poor decision of driving through the Sonic at something like 1 a.m. But that's neither here nor there. The dirty Dr. Pepper is Dr. Pepper. It's got like some kind of coconut in it and lime. And it sounds disgusting, but it is so, like, I can't even describe to you how good it is. I will crave the dirty Dr. Pepper. Do you guys know it? Have you heard of this before? Why are they not letting me full screen this yet? What are we doing here, Corti? Long crime. What are we doing? I have to wait for it to go live before I can full screen. Okay, I guess I don't know. It's been one technical challenge after another, and soon we'll be walking across the floor. Anybody know that song? Wait, Jamie Lee Komoroski pled guilty. Did that really happen? I don't like to spread any misinformation in the chat, but if you are right, because a lot of people come in here like, I'm not saying that you're a troll, because I don't think I even realized who said that, but people like to come in here and just like get me to like say things that aren't true. Sometimes it's like a thing that people do. I'm not saying that you would ever do that, my dear, whoever did that, but let's see if we can find out about that. Because you know what we do here? We multitask. And well, that's 40 minutes ago. It said the family. Oh, and then somebody said Fitz News said a guilty plea is being entered. And that was 1 minute ago. So whoever said that, I mean, well done to you. Are they going to broadcast it? I mean, they must have offered her some kind of a deal, because look, I mean, there was no way. I was like, why is this even going to trial? She's slam dunk guilty. This has to do with the woman who was drinking and driving 3 times over the legal limit, struck and killed a bride in a golf cart. So I guess she's pleading guilty. Her name is Jamie Lee Komoroski. We were going to cover that trial. Okay, now we have some free time on the docket. You guys, sometimes I like to go in long crime chat and see if any of our regulars are over there just causing trouble. I don't see anybody over there causing trouble like right now. But you never know. You know, a lot of you have 3 devices. I don't feel like you're cheating on me. Don't worry. Hold on. Mark Bettero's on the line. It's privileged. I can't talk about it. But he's boots on the ground there. Yeah, so back to the dirty Dr. Pepper. Because, you know, we have at least 5 conversations going on at all times in our chat. We just do. ADHD at its finest. Yeah. And that is, so Julie, that's going to be amazing. I can't wait to hear what Sarah's got to say for herself today. There'll be a dissertation like nothing you've ever heard before. Yeah, we definitely are going to cover Walsh. Does anybody, well, let's look, because now I have the proper, I think that's going to be in the same, you know, they have Judge Cannoni on Walsh today, but as we know, she's been taken off the Walsh case. So I don't know if she's just going to do that one hearing today or what. What the duck? Let's see. Because we do have, and that's supposed to be at 2 o'clock, but there's a bunch of hearings on for 2 o'clock. So, you know, there's a lot of things that we can do. We can do lots of things. Like we're going to go here right now.
EMT was the first responder. On his travel to the site, and knowing the severity of the crash and the injuries,
We are live right now on the Komoroski. Apparently she's taking a plea deal. So if you want me to rewind this a scoosh, we can rewind this a scoosh. Let's do this. Because I'm here for you. We aim to please. We're going to scoosh a little backwards. Okay. And then we will start, we will just rewind a little bit on Sarah Boone. How does that sound? Are we good? Everyone, do we need to take a vote? All in favor, say aye. This is Jamie Lee Komoroski in South Carolina. Apparently she's taking a guilty plea. So that frees up our docket quite a bit. See what they have to say about that. Here we go. South Carolina. I wonder if it's the low country. It's a little low. We're all going to need you to speak up louder. Oh, yes.
C-H-R-I-S, Your Honor.
And your last name, sir?
G-R-A-M as in Mike, I-C-C-I-O-N-I, on behalf of Jamie Komoroski.
Thank you very much. Are there any recommendations and negotiations, Mr. Hatch?
No, Your Honor.
And does Ms. Komoroski have any record?
No criminal record, Your Honor.
This is Jamie Lee Komoroski. We're going to go to Sarah Boone after this. It didn't start yet, so we're not missing anything.
Which is better for you? I mean, the podium's closer. It's probably like the full court to hear everything and whatever.
We do it all here. We're a full service shop.
Have you explained to your client the charge, the punishment for rights?
I have.
Do you believe she understands the charges, the punishment for rights?
I do not.
Does she wish to plead guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Do you agree with that decision?
I do.
Has she ever been evaluated to determine her competency?
She has not done.
Have you explained to her the violent and serious classification?
I have.
And have you also explained to her the collateral consequences of these offenses, that being the suspension of her driver's license or the revocation of her driver's license, as well as the requirement of any interlock devices?
We have not.
Put your earbuds in, guys.
We have.
I'll speak softly and carry a big stick. If you can't hear, you need to use earbuds. I can't
Please
modulate
affirm
it.
the testimony you give will be the truth. You can put your right hand down. I'll need you to speak a little more loudly for me, please. State your full name for the record.
Jamie Lee Komoroski,
How old are you?
27 years old.
What was the last grade you finished?
I have a bachelor's degree
In what discipline?
science. I have a bachelor in science and business administration.
I'm going to speak softly.
Get that degree.
Coastal Carolina University.
And how long ago was that?
I graduated.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I graduated.
We can't
in
either.
2020, so
That's okay, the year is fine. That's what I needed. Thank you. Are you married?
no,
Do you have any children?
no,
Are you employed?
not currently,
What
but
was your last job?
I was working for, I was doing digital marketing. And I was also doing web design.
And how long were you employed in that capacity?
Web design for about 2 months, digital marketing for about 3.
Are you on probation or parole?
No,
Ever been treated for the abuse of alcohol, drugs, or mental illness?
I'm now in AA.
How long have you been in AA?
I started AA as soon as it was available to me in the jail.
And so what year was that?
That was 2023.
Are you still engaged in AA?
Yes, very much.
Have you had any drugs, alcohol, or medication in the last 72 hours?
Yes,
What have you had?
My anxiety medication,
And what is that?
Lexapro,
How often do you take Lexapro?
2 times a day as needed.
Does that affect your ability to understand where you
Um,
are or what you're doing?
Oh, sorry. You don't take Lexapro as needed. Usually you have to take it every single day. So she must mean something like Zanny.
On the offense of felony DUI, how do you plead?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Do you understand the minimum is 1 year, the maximum is 25 years, and a minimum fine of $10,100 and a maximum fine of $25,100?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that it's classified as violent and serious?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that under South Carolina law, that subjects you to enhanced penalties?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that if you receive 2 additional serious offenses, you could face life without parole?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may have discussed parole or parole eligibility with your lawyer or with others, but until you're sentenced, no one can tell you when, if ever, you would be eligible for parole, or under what conditions. You should assume that you will serve any time that you're sentenced to day for day. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
On 2 counts of felony DUI, great bodily injury, how do you plead?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Do you understand that the minimum is 30 days and the maximum is 15 years?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that the maximum fine is a minimum of $5,100 and a maximum of $10,100?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand, and I'll go over that later, I apologize, I'll come back. On the offense of reckless homicide, how do you plead?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Do you understand the maximum penalty is 10 years and or a minimum fine of $1,000 and a maximum fine of $5,000?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that on the reckless homicide, that your license will be revoked for 5 years?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand the court has no control over that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that on the felony DUI with great bodily injury, that your license will likewise be suspended?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that no probation can be given on those offenses?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you also understand that you will be required to have an ignition interlock device on your car?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you also understand that likewise we have no control over those statutory mandated conditions.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you also understand that on the felony DUI with death, that no portion of the sentence can be suspended.
Yes, Your Honor.
I want you to listen carefully to the facts. Finish.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court.
Yes, sir.
This occurred April 28th, 2023, the 1200 block of East Ashley Avenue, Folly Beach in Charleston County. On that date, shortly before 10 o'clock p.m., the victims had left the wedding reception of Aric and Samantha Hutchinson, which was held on the western tip of the island. The newlyweds were being driven away in a low-speed vehicle, or LSV, which is a street-legal version of a golf cart. The LSV was fully illuminated with head and tail lights as it traveled eastbound from the reception site. Benjamin Garrett was driving. His son Brogan was riding next to him in the passenger seat. On the rear of the LSV was a newlywed couple, Samantha Miller Hutchinson and Aric Hutchinson. The path of travel was on West Ashley Avenue, across Center Street, and they continue on East Ashley Avenue towards the rental house. At approximately the same time as the victims were leaving the reception, the defendant was wrapping up an outing with new coworkers at a bar on Center Street in Folly Beach. After leaving that bar, Ms. Komoroski stopped by another neighboring bar, alone, for a single shot of tequila before getting into a rented 2023 Toyota Camry to drive home to her residence on James Island. The investigation revealed that an hour and a half prior to the collision, the defendant had consumed 6 alcoholic drinks. However, instead of leaving the island via Center Street toward Folly Road and James Island, the defendant headed eastbound on East Ashley as well, following the victim's LSV, albeit the LSV would have been significantly further up the road. While on East Ashley, the defendant traveled well over the island-wide speed limit of 25 miles an hour as she closed on the LSV. Data from the EDR, the electronic data recorder, or event data recorder from the vehicle, the Toyota, shows the defendant was traveling 61.5 miles an hour, 4.65 seconds prior to crashing into the LSD. 4 seconds later, at 0.65 seconds prior to impact, the EDR shows the defendant had increased to 65.9 miles an hour. The same data reflects the brakes were applied half a second later, 0.15 seconds before impact. During the time of travel, eastbound on East Ashley, the onboard system of the defense vehicle captured black and white snapshots of the vehicle as it weaved across the road, off to the right, then over the center line, left, and then back into the right lane as it closed in on the LSV. At approximately 10:15 p.m., in the 1200 block of East Ashley Avenue, Ms. Komoroski crashed into the LSV. Crash
10 p.m.
10:15 p.m.
10:15.
Yes, ma'am. Crash reconstruction calculations estimate the defendant was traveling approximately 63 miles an hour at impact, and the LSV was traveling approximately 25 miles an hour. Samantha Miller Hutchinson was ejected from the rear-facing seat onto the hood of the Toyota. Aric Hutchinson was ejected over the vehicle, landing near the point of impact. Benjamin Derrick was ejected from the vehicle onto the roadway. Brogan Derrick was ejected from the right side of the LSV into nearby ground cover. Brogan suffered injuries to his knees. Benjamin suffered a severe head injury, injury to his wrist, which was treated in the burn unit at MUSC, and injuries to his right hip and lower back. Ben will require further surgeries to address his other injuries, including a right hip replacement, a fusion of the right SI joint, possible fusion of his neck and back vertebrae, and surgery to address arthritis in his affected joints. Aric suffered 2 broken legs, one requiring surgical intervention to repair, a fractured facial bones, fractured vertebrae, also necessitated surgery, brain bleeds, numerous lacerations over his body. Additionally, his left eye was damaged, and the prognosis regarding his vision will develop over time. He necessitated surgery to fix the lid to that left eye, enabling him to close, and currently suffers double vision. Future surgery will be assessed. Samantha Miller Hutchinson died from blunt force trauma to her head and neck. Citizens that were staying or living in the area of the crash immediately responded to the site and called 911. Among those who responded were 2 nurses that happened to be staying nearby. They, along with others, began triaging the victims. Neither detected any pulse from Samantha. As a call for assistance was dispatched, officers from Folly Beach rushed to the scene. Sergeant Halpern, who was also trained EMT, was the first responder. On his travel to the site, and knowing the severity of the crash and the injuries, Halpern's speed from his cruiser's GPS topped out at 58 miles an hour, but was essentially consistent around 44 miles an hour with lights and sirens operating. Sergeant Halpern and Officer Honeycutt, also from Folly Beach Police Department, attempted to resuscitate Samantha using CPR and an AED. Ultimately, they were not successful. Samantha was declared deceased at the scene. Folly Beach Police Department put out a call for assistance to the scene and to handle other calls while working this crash. Sergeant Charles Seven and Deputy Aaron Scruggs of Charleston County Sheriff's Office responded to assist with the crash reconstruction. And CPD officers, including Zachary Azari, assisted with the DUI investigation. CCEMS, Charleston County EMS, that has transported Aric, Ben, and Brogan to MSC for treatment in the trauma unit. The coroner was called to respond for Samantha. At the scene, the defendant admitted to driving the Toyota and to drinking 2 drinks prior to the crash. She declined to perform standard field sobriety tests. She was then taken into custody for suspicion of DUI and transported to Folly Beach's Department of Public Safety to provide a breath sample, which she also declined. At approximately 1 a.m., August 29th, or April 29th, Sergeant Halpern drove the defendant to MUSC for medical clearance. A search warrant was issued for a blood sample from the defendant. MUSC collected the sample according to SLED protocols. The sample was later tested by a SLED toxicologist who reported a BAC of .261. A retrograde extrapolation based on the time of the defendant's last drink, her age, weight, and height, estimated her BAC to be .255, .318 at the time of the crash, between 3 and 4 times the legal limit. Ms. Komoroski was indicted by the Charleston County Grand Jury September of 23 for reckless homicide, 2 counts of felony DUI with GBI, 1 count of felony DUI with death. Again, this plea is without negotiation or recommendations.
Okay, there's a lot of complaining in the chat. Here's what we're doing. We've pivoted. This is live breaking news. We were going to cover this trial, but this young lady is pleading guilty to a horrific drunk driving case. If you cannot hear the court feed, I do know how to work the volume. Somebody sent me an email teaching me how to work the volume. The volume is all the way up. You need to use your earbuds because law and crime. I'm trying to speak softly. As soon as this is over, we're going to go to Sarah Boone and we're going to watch it from the beginning. So you're not going to miss anything, okay? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for your grace and courtesy. I appreciate you. Put earbuds in if you can't hear.
Angle that podium so that she's talking to her. Just angle it this way so that she's speaking directly to her. Perfect. Gives us a better idea what she's talking. Do you agree or disagree with the facts?
I agree.
Feel anything needs to be changed or added to the facts?
No, Your Honor.
Are you pleading guilty because you're guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand you're entitled to a jury trial?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that during a jury trial, the state has the burden of proving your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that you would have the right to confront and cross-examine the state's witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor.
Call your own witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor.
Present any defenses?
Yes, Your Honor.
And challenge any statements as well as remain silent, and your silence could not be used against you. Do you understand each of those rights?
Yes, Your
Do you
Honor.
understand that you're giving up those rights?
Yes, Your
Do
Honor.
you understand that if you desire the trial, that the court stands ready to accommodate that request, and we have a panel coming in for that purpose?
Yes, Your Honor.
And knowing all of that, do you still wish to plead guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are there any deals you're relying on that I've not been told about? Are there any secret deals you've made between your lawyer and the state that the court is not aware of that you're relying on in pleading guilty?
No, Your Honor.
Have you been satisfied with your lawyer?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has he done everything you've asked or expected?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any complaints about his services?
No, Your Honor.
Has anyone promised you anything to plead guilty?
No, Your Honor.
Has anyone threatened or coerced you?
No, Your Honor.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily and of your own will?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you understood my questions?
Yes, Your
Do
Honor.
you need to ask any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Have you been truthful?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that you have the right to appeal each guilty plea and sentence of the court?
Yes,
Do
Your
you
Honor.
understand that you have to do that within 10 days of today in writing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that if you cannot afford an attorney for that process, that one will be appointed to you at no cost?
Yes, Your Honor.
I find there's a substantial factual basis for each plea, that each plea has been entered freely, voluntarily, knowingly, and intelligently with the advice and assistance of counsel with whom the defendant has indicated she's satisfied. I will accept the plea. Anything further from the state? And I did not notice, oh, actually, I do notice now, I apologize. But I didn't see the other 2 victims' names, I'm sorry.
Your Honor,
And I assume, based on, and I neglected to ask this earlier, and I apologize for my oversight, I assume that that on indictment ending in 3982, which is the felony DUI with death, I assume that Ms. Hutchinson's relatives were notified,
yes, correct, Your
and
Honor.
some of them are present.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Is there any restitution?
None is being sought by the state.
And I assume on indictment ending in 3983, which is the felony DUI, great bodily injury, that Mr. Aric Hutchinson was notified,
That's correct, Your Honor.
and
He's present.
he is present, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is there any restitution?
None sought by the state.
Nine. And likewise, assuming on indictment ending in 3984, And Garrett was notified.
That's correct, Your Honor. He's also present in the courtroom.
And is there any restitution?
None sought by the state.
And on indictment ending in 3985, that's a duplicate victim, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Anything from the state?
Only to notify the court, as you are aware, members of the victim's family who would aware.
Certainly. You can call them in the order that you'd like and make sure they speak loudly and clearly for the benefit of the court reporter. You can call them in whatever order you would like.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
First would be Ms. Lisa Miller, the mother of the deceased Samantha Miller Hutchinson.
It's up to you. However you choose. I'm sorry. That's fine. Ma'am, if you would tell us your name for the record.
My name's Samantha, no, it's not. My name is Lisa Miller, I'm Samantha Miller's mom.
Yes, ma'am, we'd be glad to hear from you. Take your time.
Thanks.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate you allowing me to speak and everybody be patient. I really want to get through this. First of all, for the last 20 years, my career has been a substance abuse counselor. So I wanted to bring that factor to the court. I've dealt with many different populations, offenders. I did a program for offenders. I've dealt with military people, adolescent programs. So I've kind of ran all gamut. The one thing that all these groups and all these populations have in common is the word enabling. And enabling happens when, does everybody know what that means? Enabling happens when, it could be family members, it could be friends, it could be their children, maybe the adult is one that's alcohol. They help them because they don't want them to get in trouble. They don't want them to have a bad life. By them helping them, they're really doing them a dishonor. And the only way that somebody that's having alcohol or drug issues and addiction can get better is to suffer the natural consequences of their behaviors.
She's right.
In this case, the natural consequences is the legal consequences of what happened, which resulted in my family, sibling, child, not being here anymore. The good thing about it, if she goes and stays some time in jail, they have treatment in there. AA is not treatment. AA doesn't help somebody who's addicted. It's good once you get to that point where you're gone through treatment, you spent some time in sobriety. AA is where you go hang out with your other people. And that's it. This is in parts, but thank you. Who was Sam? I want to talk about Sam because it's my daughter. And she wasn't just a person on golf cart that just got married and got killed. She was and will always be my child. I'm going to tell a little bit of the story. Bear with me. I got pregnant with Sam. I was single, divorced with an older child. Those things happen. They did not have any help or any assistance. And so I think that bonded Sam and I, as being fighters together through life, helping each other, until my husband that I met and married adopted Sam and was her dad. So life wasn't always easy for us to get through what we had to get through. It's really hard to figure out how we were going to make it financially. My whole first career was based on being pregnant with Sam. I know it sounds funny, but it's like I had 9 months to get a career. I can't make $10 an hour anymore. So 9 months, hey, I can go to hair school. We figured it out. Like, we always figured things out together. Not only was she my daughter, Sam and I had, excuse me.
That's okay, take your time.
Sam and I had a relationship probably better than most people that love each other. I'm very close with my other 2 kids. Our family has always been close. But Sam and I had a bond that was very different and very amazing, and we both had each other's backs all the time. We talk every day, her whole entire life. You know, most 30-year-olds don't want much to do with their parents anymore. You know, hey, yeah, I'll come over for Christmas dinner.
Yeah, Hank Brennan, guess what? A lot of adult women call their mom at all hours of the night.
But I'm not gonna hang out with you all the time, and I'll lead into something else I'm getting off of. But in saying that, the last time I was with Sam before the week of the wedding, her birthday's 3/27. So on 3/27, a month and a day earlier, she called me for her birthday, and she said, all I want, Mom, is for you to come see me, and for you to be with me on her birthday. And I brought champagne, and we brought cupcakes, and we went down to the beach at sunrise, our favorite time, and we did silly dances on the beach with cupcakes and champagne. That's what an amazing relationship is. She used to, when she was little, when my husband would tease me or tease her or whatever, you know, just he would act like he was saying things about me, and she would just get so mad, be like, don't talk about my mommy, like, just defended me. Then when we divorced and I started somewhat dating sometimes, she met one of them, she'd get right up in their face and be like, you hurt my mama? I'll leave out the words she used. Hurt you, basically. That's the best friend. You can only hope that anybody in this room that has kids could have a relationship like that with their child's friend. She wanted everybody to feel happy. I had people coming up to me after Sam passed and was like, you know, they worked with her, I were gonna go to work and I was in a bad mood, I went anyway because Sam would make me feel better. That's who she was. She wanted everybody to just feel loved, cared about, and as much as I didn't want to talk, if something would happen to me, Sam would be up here screaming off the mountaintops for all her family. That's who she was. Yeah, doing pretty good. Not sure if talking to yourself is good. The one year she moved to Utah on Valentine's Day, and that was the hardest. That was the only year we were ever apart. On Valentine's Day, I came home to my house, and my whole driveway was covered with I love you mores in pink everywhere. My whole walkway, my whole door was different color flowers. I mean, different color hearts, red, pink, my whole entire front door. I don't know many kids at 30-something years old that would care about their mom having a good Valentine's Day party or day and want her to feel loved and live in a different state and have one of her friends come over to her mom's house and do this. Not too many. So, unfortunately, I don't like talking about me then, but I just want to tell you what happened through Sam's mom's eyes and our family and what we experienced, which was pretty horrible. So it was supposed to be a rainy day, it was supposed to be a cloudy, and the weather just, an hour before the wedding, just became beautiful. Couldn't have been better. Everything was perfect. Sam had me hold her phone during the wedding. And when she was on the golf cart, she realized she didn't have her phone. Getting ahead of myself, that's okay. So she said someone to come get her phone. And you don't know how many times we go down the rabbit hole. If she had just gone without her phone and told me to come bring it to her or whatever. I mean, it was perfect timing that she got right in front of this car. So we try not to do that too much. So after the wedding, we went to where we were staying in our Airbnb and basically got into some sweats and we're hanging out on the porch and everybody had a good night and pouring a glass of wine, relax. And I'm standing out there and I hear all these sirens. And the fire trucks, which on a Friday night in Folly, it's not very rare. I mean, they're there all the time, right? But I heard those fire trucks and saw those lights and I yelled, "Something happened, Sam." And Mandy said, "No, Mom." And I said, "Something happened to Sam." That's how much, that's a connection with somebody. I knew. And it wasn't until, I don't even know how long later, somebody came by and was nice enough to ask us if we had heard about the accident. And so she took us down there. Sorry, this arm is working. And Mandy and I, my daughter, ran barefoot into the scene, which was all rubbed up. Sam's dad was there. And within, like, I don't know the timing, but maybe 15, 20 minutes, one of the officers there came up and told us, me, that everybody that was in the accident was taken to the hospital. So Mandy took me to the hospital. We went to the hospital to find Sam. They didn't have IDs, so it was gonna be a while before they figured out where everybody was. But I really believe that she was at the hospital. And then it was like 2 in the morning. We stayed, we hung out outside. Some of Sam's friends came. And we stayed outside waiting. And then my ex-husband, Sam's dad, called my phone and he said, "Sam's not at the hospital, Lisa." He said, "Sam's still on the side of the road. I just identified her." And I just fell to the ground. I don't even know how we ended up going through the next few days, but anyway, I know that's our story. I'm Sam. And what happened? Sam was light. She was love. And she was amazing. It always will be. I'm gonna insert one more thing that I forgot when we were talking about the wedding. We're almost in there, but another thing that Sam did. She planned the wedding, you know, miserable for really that year planning the wedding, which sucked, but she was kind enough to do her daddy-daughter dance with both of her dads. And nice enough to include both of them. And then afterwards, we're all standing there ready for the next thing to happen, and the DJ announces special dance for the most special person in Sam's, most important person in Sam's life. And it was me. And she played our song again. That's the last time I hugged my kid child could do for their mom. And that's just explain our relationship. Last thing I need to say, and I'm gonna probably just read this, I think, is that myself, Sam's siblings, Sam's siblings are nieces, and her father, we've been sentenced to a lifetime of pain, as with half the world. As a mom, I can't even describe to you. I've lost my brother. I lost both my dads. This is so different. And it is scientifically proven that some kids' cells stay in your body. She died. We died. And she doesn't get a partial sentence. She doesn't get to come back to life in 10 years or 20 years. And we don't get to come back to life in 20, 25 years. This is a lifetime. Your Honor, I hope that you consider our plea in the world's plea to hold the defendant responsible for her poor choices and to experience the legal consequences of her action. Thank you. You're welcome. I appreciate your time.
We're going to Boone after this. This is very important to a lot of people and to me. So we'll go there. You won't miss a thing. Thank you, though. I have it up on my other screen.
Hi, my name's Mandy Jenkins. I'm Sam's sister. As I stand here today, I am struggling to find words that can truly convey the depth of the pain, grief, loss, and life adjustments we've all experienced in the last year and a half. It's obvious to everyone that Sam was a bright light in this world, a person full of love, laughter, and kindness. She touched everyone she met with her warmth and compassion. Her death has left a hole in our lives that can never be filled. I will never get to hear her voice, see her smile, or share any moments we have planned for the future. The pain of losing her is unbearable, and every day feels like a struggle to move forward. But Your Honor, I don't have a choice to give up. Sam was an aunt to my 2 daughters. My daughters, Amber and Maisie. They're Auntie Sammy. Despite Sam's constant care to everyone, the love she had for them was like no other, and it was mutual. Becoming a mother is the greatest milestone in my life, one Sam will never get a chance to do. My family traveled from Florida to South Carolina on April 20th, 2023, in preparation for Sam and Aric's wedding. And me and my girls never went back to Florida. 12 hours after we found out Sam was killed, Amber asked me why everyone from the wedding was at our Airbnb and why is everyone so sad. I was not prepared to explain death to a 5-year-old yet, especially because it was her Auntie Sammy. If you've never experienced trauma, I don't wish it upon anyone. Regardless the thousands of dollars spent on therapy, the triggers are immensely debilitating every single day. The sirens, flashing lights, seeing a wedding dress, a golf cart, just the simple task of driving, and many, many more. When I'm with my girls, any of these things come up, they try to protect me. Singing a song loud to drown out the siren noise in hopes a grief wave doesn't hit me and I quickly spiral. Day to day, if I say, hey, mommy's just going to the grocery store real quick, Amber and Maisie quickly panic, having to say goodbye multiple times just in case I don't come back, in their words, like what happened to Auntie Sammy. My job is to protect them, shouldn't be the other way around. But I also now have the task of protecting my mother and being her rock through this. She once said years back, if anything ever happens to one of my kids, I'd kill myself. The moment we found out Sam was plowed down, I made my mother look me in the eye and promise me she wouldn't do that. I didn't quite believe her, knowing the bond her and Sam shared, and I knew I needed to be by her side through every moment of this. I sent my husband on a plane to Florida, and he packed up our house and we moved to North Carolina, now 1,000 steps from my mom. This tragedy has not only stolen the future that my sister should have had, but has also forever altered the course of our lives. I know that no sentence can bring Sam back. The choices made by the drunk driver the night she killed my sister will affect us forever. They have taken more than just a life. They have taken the future, our future. I am filled with anger and frustration knowing that my sister's life was cut short by a selfish, senseless, and preventable tragedy. The defendant's actions have forever changed our family, and we have to live with the consequences of this loss every single day, and she should too. No one should endure this pain except for her. Thank you for allowing me to speak today.
You're welcome. Mr. Finch?
Thank you, Your Honor. Next, Nathan Miller, brother of Samantha Miller.
Nathan Miller, Sam's brother.
Yes, sir.
It's not much that hasn't been said. So just really brief. But I'm sure as you and everyone else can see and hear that how hard it's been on our family to go through something like this. It's unimaginable. If you haven't been through anything like this, then won't really do it any justice for me to try to put it into words. And if you have, then I don't need to put it into words for you. How much pain and anxiety and just like worry, constant worry, just living in a state where, you know, when your phone rings, you know that there's a pretty good chance that on the other line, there's gonna be somebody in peril, and you have to do your best to try to help them. Not only do we have to deal with the loss ourselves, but we have to watch our loved ones go through it as well. The last thing I'll say is just hope that the sentence is the maximum, because you know, this wasn't an accident. It wasn't an accident to go over 60 miles per hour on these, you know, pitch black, tiny Folly roads that are constantly filled with people. Honestly, it'd be more surprising if someone wasn't killed in those circumstances. So, leave it at that. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Mr. Finch?
Thank you, Your Honor. Next, Brad Warner, biological father. You can see.
Yes, sir. You would tell us your name for the record.
I'm Brad Warner.
Yes, sir. Be glad to hear.
I'm Sam's biological daughter. I'm her father. I'm the one that wasn't there in the first part of her life. For the past 20 plus years, I was there for her when she needed me. When I was 2 years old, I got hit by a car, left on the side of the road for dead. I survived. Everybody says they think the person was drunk. It was a hit and run. They never found the person. So every day I woke up for 57 years and hated this person. Hated every day. I'd wake up and hate somebody I didn't even know. Six months before Sam was taken, I sat there, I was like, I gotta get this weight off of my shoulder. I said to Sam, I'm gonna forgive this person. I don't know who it is. I did. The next day I talked to Sam. It was like 1,000-pound weight was taken off my shoulders. I felt like I could fly. 6 months later, that hatred is back on with vengeance. I've never felt this much weight. This person, he took such a beautiful person away. She was loved by so many. I didn't realize how many people over the past year and a half I've heard from people that actually hate you. And they love Sam, they never met Sam, don't even know Sam. For the rest of my life, I'm gonna hate you. And when I arrive in hell and you come there, I'll open the door for you. You have ruined so many people's lives. And I hope you understand what you did, because you've taken no responsibility for what you've done. You can apologize all you want later. I will not listen to a word. It's not worth it. Everybody used to call Sam a female version of me. Because we say what we mean and we mean what we say, and she always did. She was a beautiful soul. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you, Your Honor. Next, Aric Hutchinson.
Your Honor, my name is Aric Hutchinson. That's Hutchinson.
Yes.
I am related to the victims. I am Eric's mother. Samantha and Benjamin's mother-in-law and Brogan's grandmother. My family is my world. My children and grandchildren are everything to me. All that I do is for my family. Yet until today, I've spent the last 19 months watching helplessly as this horrific event and aftermath unfolded, shattering the lives of 2 out of my 3 children and ending the beautiful life of my beloved daughter-in-law, Sam. Speaking here today is the one thing I can do for them. Your Honor, I ask you to please consider Sam when you impose your sentence. Sam joined our family in March of 2019 when she chose my son. She was a force so lively and so full of love, especially for my son, Aric. It was apparent to all of us they had both found the love of their lives. For over a year, Sam planned every detail of her wedding, a first marriage for both. She was excited and counting down the days, unaware she was also counting down to her own tragic death. On their wedding day, I had never seen Sam or Aric so happy. Their faces lit with smile the entire time, even as they waved goodbye from the golf cart they were riding on to start their life together. Photos in the video of the day captured the magic, but they are now too painful to watch or look at, because our lives were forever changed moments later by the defendant when she recklessly sped through a quiet residential neighborhood into the back of the golf cart. In the police report, a witness described the crash as sounding like a bomb's explosion. That statement replays in my mind, thinking of the 4 of them struck in such a manner. The next day, I had the horrific task of telling my son that his new wife had died, after he repeatedly asked during moments of consciousness, "Where is Sam?" I cannot describe to you the pain I felt as I watched my son's face process this, and I knew what he would say before he said it. It should have been me. Later, my husband and I spent a week cleaning and repairing Sam's wedding dress so it was presentable to Aric, because he did not get to see Sam after she was killed. So he wanted to see what she was last wearing in his final memory with her. Your Honor, I ask you to please consider my children and grandchildren when you impose your sentence. The night of the crash, my son Aric and son-in-law Ben both sustained injuries from which they'll never fully recover. I'll never forget the shock of arriving at the scene. I wish we could have shielded my other 4 grandchildren from the trauma of it, but we were from out of state, so we had no option but for them to accompany us. My memories from the scene are vivid and fixed in slow motion. My daughter being held from running to her unrecognizable husband Ben where he lay, her slumping to the ground, the police officer who stopped me to verify if they had found the correct number of victims, and my own realization at that moment that my son and Sam were there also. I recall the onlookers' expressions telling me more than I wanted to accept. My other son, Adam, and his family arrived and tried to comfort my daughter's 2 children, while my daughter ran up to him and screamed, "It's Sam and Aric too." Each devastating detail is permanently etched in my memory, including the moment when we found out that mere minutes after the happiest moments of her life, Sam had died. My son stayed at the scene and saw the criminal defendant sitting on the side of the road completely unharmed and watched as she was led away past him. All 5 of my grandchildren, ages 10 to 17, one a victim of the crash, went from the scene to the emergency room, spending the night in the waiting room, not knowing what happened to their family. They will carry the trauma of this core memory with them for the rest of their lives. In the initial hours after the defendant slammed into Aric, Sam, Ben, and Brogan, medical staff at the hospital thought Aric wasn't going to survive his injuries. They moved him into ICU and advised us to spend as much time as possible with him. For months following this tragedy, Aric needed full-time medical care. He could not drive for 15 weeks. Since the crash, I've spent over 7 months here in South Carolina. My husband, who still works full-time, 6 weeks. Eric's siblings and friends have spent several additional weeks helping him, and we relocated him to our home state for a few months over last year's holidays, knowing how hard they would be, and he was all alone here. After Eric's initial surgeries for facial reconstruction and to repair both his legs so he'd be able to walk again, he required wound care, numerous follow-up doctor visits, and physical therapy. I watched him use a walker to get around and throw it across the room in frustration. I ran to the bathroom in the middle of the night after hearing him fall and cleaned his blood off of the floor. When he developed internal stomach ulcers, acid reflux, a deteriorating esophagus, and had bouts of profuse vomiting, I saw the pain and agony those caused. However, dealing with the severe physical injuries was easy compared to the grief, anxiety, and survivor's guilt to come. You cannot imagine the pain of constantly seeing your grown son crying helplessly and lost. For months upon my awakening, I would go check to see if my son was still breathing. On the darkest of days, I had to chase away the thought that maybe it would have been better if he and Sam had been taken together. I would prefer my own grief over my son's. One of countless heartbreaking memories I have is brushing the road debris off of the wedding envelopes that police gathered at the scene, while Aric opened them and read all the well wishes wedding guests had expressed for the life the happy couple would make together. There were 125 wedding guests and vendors at the wedding. 75% traveled from out of state to attend, only to be traumatized. Since this tragedy, Aric has made over 20 trips to the emergency room and 3 times was readmitted to the hospital for severe anxiety attacks, nausea, and dehydration. His most recent visit was only 3 weeks ago. I know some here see Ben and Aric as the men they appear on the exterior. What are not visible are the internal injuries, the scars hidden by clothing from the multiple surgeries both have endured. You don't see the constant physical pain that has become a part of their lives. The pain doesn't stop there. The emotional pain, the post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, survivor's guilt, and grief have been constant for these 19 months. You don't see the daily struggle, the arthritis setting in, and the future surgeries they've been told will be necessary to control pain and enable both men to remain mobile as they age. You don't see their limited abilities. They're unable to do activities they did before and must rely on others. Both are facing a difficult fight for the remainder of their lives. I was told there are no charges against the defendant for my then 17-year-old grandson, Brogan, because he was not severely injured. Yet he was struck by a car at 65 miles per hour while sitting next to his father, thrown several feet, landing close to his new and now deceased Aunt Sam. His view of Sam shielded by another young girl who had ran out of a nearby home, until he was placed in an ambulance and taken to the emergency room. I know Brogan struggles with his own PTSD anxiety, trauma, and grief, but mostly in silence, because he sees the physical and emotional struggles of his father in alcohol. And I know he feels lucky, but I worry for him when he starts to recall the trauma of the day. Your Honor, I need you to please consider the irreparable damage the criminal defendant has caused our families when you impose your sentence. I'm standing here today to tell you I don't know if my son will ever be okay or know happiness again. We now live under a shadow. We go through our day to day. We even smile for pictures that it's not real or the life we had. None of us will recover from losing Sam. Although unseen, the emotional damage is constant and at times relentless. Your Honor, please don't prioritize the defendant's life over the life of Sam and the life sense of pain and suffering inflicted on Aric and Ben. Please send a clear message to the defendant that she must take responsibility for her actions and to others that taking a life as a direct result of irresponsible and selfish choices will result in severe consequences. As we now know, no one is immune to losing someone at the hands of another. It can happen at any time, and we live with the newfound fear it could happen to us again. Thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am. Alexis Garrett. Yes.
My husband, Ben Garrett, was the driver of a golf cart on April 28, 2023, along with 3 other of my family members. My son, Brogan Garrett, was a passenger in charge of playing the music and holding Eric's suitcoat. And my brother, Aric Hutchinson, and my new sister-in-law, Samantha Miller Hutchinson, were all in the golf cart. Your Honor, I struggled with what to say here today because nothing will convey the depth of pain and struggle that we have endured all of these months or feel adequate to express what was lost that night. We spent the entire day of April 28, 2023 together. We started setting up for the wedding that morning on the beach with our entire family helping. It was a perfect day and a beautiful wedding. I have never seen 2 people happier or more in love than Aric and Sam were on that day. We were still cleaning up at the wedding reception venue when I got the call that changed our lives. I was told my husband and son were involved in an accident and would come right away. Most of that night and the days and months that followed are a blur, except certain moments that will forever stick in my mind. Arriving at the scene, to so many police and medical vehicles, running in my bare feet to the crash site, seeing the chaos and destruction, seeing what I didn't even recognize as a golf cart scattered across the road, seeing my husband in a terrible state lying on the road covered in blood, and then being loaded onto a stretcher. I was not allowed to get close to him or anyone there. I remember the moments of despair as I could not see anywhere where my 17-year-old son was. The confusion and the chaos of the scene, and the kind bystanders who held my mom and I as we tried to comprehend what was happening, and as we learned that Sam and Aric were also involved. Being told to go to the hospital, praying with my other 2 children in the car on the way to the hospital, arriving at the ER not knowing who was there or what condition they were in. The look of fear and the way my son cried when he finally saw me in the emergency room, waiting in my son's room in the ER, while we weren't allowed to see my husband, and then finding out that Sam did not make it. Then hearing that my brother was also not doing good and wasn't expected to make it. I remember the worry of not knowing whether I should leave my son and husband when we didn't know the extent of their injuries, so that I could go up to the ICU to say goodbye to my brother. It was all too much. It was so much tragedy. I'm trying to figure out how to help so many people I loved all at once. It felt like we were constantly trying to triage all of our family members, all while staying in a rental house 2,000 miles from home. The days that followed were heavy, as we tried to comprehend the loss of Sam while trying to navigate the physical injuries Aric and Ben both had. I remember going floor to floor to each of their rooms in the hospital to see them, all while my son recovered at a rental house with my other 2 children. That day that started out so blissfully happy ended in absolute tragedy. The defendant stole the life of the most vibrant woman with the best laugh and the most gorgeous smile. Losing Sam created an irreplaceable void in our family. The pain of losing her is an ever-present reminder of how fragile life can be, and it's left us in a state of grief that is difficult to put into words. My brother Aric is never going to be the same. I have never experienced that depth of pain and sorrow when we were in his hospital room the days following, and he would wake up and not remember what had happened, and we would have to tell him all over again. The past 19 months, he has struggled to continue to live. We have worried we would lose him many times since then, because the sorrow and survivor's guilt are just too great to comprehend. He suffers from many physical injuries that cause him daily pain, but nothing will ever compare to his shattered heart. My husband has experienced many physical injuries. He was covered head to toe in road rash and deep cuts and gashes. He spent 11 days in the hospital in Charleston. 9 of those were in the burn unit, undergoing surgery to clean out his many wounds. He underwent physical therapy to be able to walk with a walker and had to be able to sit long enough to endure the long flight home. He is the strongest man I know, and to see him in so much pain was one of the hardest things I have ever done. He continues to have physical pain limiting so many of his daily activities. Many days even walking is too much. The repercussions of that night extend far beyond his physical scars. They have left emotional wounds that we will carry indefinitely. My son, who was 17 years old at the time and merely a passenger in what was meant to be a joyous celebration, has been deeply affected emotionally. Witnessing the aftermath of that horrific accident has instilled in him a sense of fear and anxiety that he struggles with daily. The innocence of his childhood and my other two children has been stolen and replaced with an overwhelming sense of trauma. It is heartbreaking to see my children struggling with feelings they should never have had to experience at such young ages. Being here today was a conflict for us. We live in Utah, and we had to leave behind my daughter, who cries and breaks down at the mere mention of South Carolina, and the thought of returning to the state terrified her, and bring my youngest son, who didn't want to be parted from his father again. Whenever I go 65 miles per hour on the freeway, I now think of how fast that really is, and that they were riding in a golf cart. It's terrifying to think of what they experienced as the defendant hit them going so fast. We know that it is nothing short of a miracle that these three men are still with us here today, and we know Sam had a lot to do with that. She is love and light, and the world will not be the same without her. No family should have to endure the heartbreak and suffering that we have due to this completely preventable tragedy. I do not believe this was merely a single act of recklessness. It has destroyed our family, shattered dreams, and left lasting scars on all of us. We will never be the same. Ours is a life sentence without Sam, and with all of the physical and emotional injuries that the defendant has left in her wake. Thank you for your time, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Thank you, Your Honor. Next, Brogan Garrett.
My name is Brogan Garrett,
First name for us, sir.
B-R-O-B-A-N. And on April 28th, 2023, me and my family were on a fun vacation to support my uncle and aunt. What was supposed to be a joyous and celebratory day turned into a nightmare that will haunt me and my family for the rest of our lives. That night, after my aunt and uncle's wedding, an intoxicated Jamie Komoroski struck me and my dad while we were taking my aunt and uncle to their rental. The crash took my aunt's life. A bride celebrating the happiest day of her life just hours earlier. She was full of love and laughter and light, and her absence has left an unfillable void in our family, as well as others who had to have Sam ripped from their lives. The impact of this tragedy goes far beyond her dad. My father and uncle were severely injured. My uncle to the point that he was not supposed to make it through the night. My father endured immense physical pain, a long hospital stay, and grueling recoveries as well, as having to watch my biggest role model and protector in life struggle that much to walk just a couple of feet, to sit up in a chair, and to watch him sit out while me and my brother would play catch. I too was injured, both physically and emotionally. The images of the mingled golf cart, staring at the leaves of the trees as sirens blared and lights flashed across them. My ride in the ambulance to the ER. Finally getting to the ER and hearing my mom tell me what was going on. Finally seeing my dad in the state that he was in. And listening to him groan while my mom shared the news to me about Sam. My thoughts were racing while I was young, wondering what was going to happen to our family. And thoughts of the brand new marriage that got ripped apart in seconds. These are things that I relive daily. The fear of getting rear-ended again has haunted me since that day. And I did not stop checking my rearview mirror while I drive. The emotional and mental impact has caused me to often wonder how anyone could make the choice to drive while intoxicated. A choice that has brought so much harm to innocent lives. The decision to drive under the influence is not reckless, it's selfish and cruel. It is an act that destroyed a family and robbed us of a loved one who we can never get back. This accident didn't just affect our bodies, it shattered our hearts and broke the spirit of the family that had come together for love and celebration. Instead of remembering that day for the joy of a wedding, we now associate it with grief, trauma, and loss. The few more days that I spent in Folly Beach were not pleasant. When I finally returned to the rental that we were staying at, there was a dull feel to everything. The adults with us were usually taking naps or resting before they returned to the hospital to take their shift with my dad and uncle, while the older kids were tasked with keeping the younger ones entertained. My sister refused to let me out of her sight. They would be constantly taking care of me while my mom was with my dad. I was faced with having to try and help my brother while we struggled with emotions that were not meant to be felt and processed by a 12-year-old. Every little daily task was a struggle for me, and everything seemed to move in slow motion. When it was time to finally go home, we came to realize that my dad was not going to be joining us. And that devastated me and my siblings. Having to separate our family at a time where all we wanted was to be together was very hard. When we got home and were forced to return to our normal lives, it was a struggle. Going back to school and trying to pretend like everything was okay was mentally draining. Everyone asking you the same question over and over again about whether you were okay or not was taxing. Everyday activities like classes, sports, and hanging out with friends felt pointless. And my motivation started to disappear when all I wanted was for my dad to come home. And when my dad finally returned home, the enormous burden that was placed on my family did not go away. While still having to help my dad recover, we were also hearing stories about how my uncle was doing back in South Carolina. They were hard to hear, and the combination of watching my dad struggle to recover from his injuries made it hard to keep our hopes up for a better future. The justice process that followed was daunting and placed a lot of stress on me while I was trying to navigate this foreign world that I was dropped into. The big toll on my mental health and the fear of losing another family member has also affected many big decisions in my life. One of those decisions being after graduating to serve an LDS mission, which I was preparing my whole life to do and was looking forward to. I hope the court will consider the profound impact that Jamie Komoroski's actions have had on me and my family and my future. I ask for accountability and justice, not only for the harm done to us, but to send a message that such choices have devastating and irreversible consequences. Thank you for allowing me to share my story.
Benjamin Garrett.
Yes, sir, if you would tell us your name for the record.
Benjamin Garrett.
You may proceed.
Your Honor, I just want to start out thanking all the first responders for that night. I know it wasn't something that anybody wanted to go through. And also, I just want to thank Folly Beach, the community, Charleston, Morgan, Utah, North Carolina, everybody around the world for supporting our families through this. Your Honor, that evening was such a good night, celebrating Sam and Aric and their love. And I was looking forward to driving them off their rental with my son. It was my only job for the wedding. While we were on the drive there, we were talking that night, we were just listening to Sam and Aric talk, flirting with each other. Rogan and I were having conversations. We talked about breakfast burritos at Burt's Market, how fantastic they were. And that's the last thing I remember that night. The next thing I knew, someone was tapping my shoulder, asking me if I knew where I was. And I remember opening my eyes and seeing all the lights and knowing that I was at the hospital. I had no idea how I got there or what had happened. The next time I woke up, I remember hearing Aric yelling in pain, just screaming, "It hurts, it hurts." There was so much chaos inside the ER, in and out of consciousness. I asked about my son, and one of the nurses came back, I think it was a nurse, I don't know who it was, told me that it didn't look good. And then a little bit later, when I woke up again, they came back and told me that they'd given me the wrong diagnosis. They'd given me Eric's diagnosis instead of my son. And then my son was with my wife, and they'd be taking me back there. The hospital staff eventually took me back to go see my wife and my son. And that's when my wife told me that Sam didn't make it. They didn't know if Aric was going to make it to tonight. It was my only job, and I didn't get to complete it. Make sure that they got their rental property and had their money. Your Honor, I had road rash all over my body. That night, I had no idea what the extent of my injuries. I didn't want to move, I couldn't move. I had stitches in my forehead, an open hole in my knuckles on my left hand, giant gash on my right wrist, and I couldn't walk, couldn't even stand. I actually, when they released my son, I told him I'd come home, and the doctors told me, well, if you can stand, you can go home. It was a struggle to sit up, and I knew that he stayed longer. After the first couple of days, my wife getting pretty upset with the condition that I was in. Dr. Hink at NUSC and her team took me in for surgery again, fixed up the stitches on my forehead, and also gave me a fish skin graft on my right wrist. I then spent the next 9 days recovering from injuries and trying to walk. I separated my right SI joint, cracked my sacrum, and tore the labrum in my right hip. I had to practice sitting in a chair so that I could show the doctors that I could fly and join my family. When I returned home, I was referred to the University of Utah Burn Clinic and instructed to see a general practitioner and orthopedic surgeon. I had more MRIs and x-rays due to problems in my pelvis, my back, and my neck. That is when they found that I had broken vertebrae in multiple places in my back and my neck. And I still have issues there today. I spent 6 months in physical therapy until my insurance told me I ran out of visits. Your Honor, this is just a list of the physical injuries, and most of them I'm still dealing with. I will need to have a hip replacement, fusion of my SI joint, and possible fusion of my vertebrae in my neck and my back. This will continue to be a burden that we'll have to deal with financially, physically, and emotionally for the rest of my life. The hardest part of this, the whole incident, is the mental and emotional side. Your Honor, my wife and kids saw me in a state they should never see me again. And I am unable to be the husband or father that I was or wanted to be in the future. I should be seen as their protector, their rock. My kids and my wife now watch me go downstairs to make sure I can make it. They come out and carry things in from my truck or from our cars because I can't carry them. These are all things that I can do on my own before. I can't even do stuff around the house. I can't get on the ground, fix a faucet that's leaking. I can't get on the ground, pull weeds, or fix sprinklers. Wrestle with my boys, run football routes, rope matches, swing a bat, swing golf clubs, be a catcher for my son when he wants to pitch. I can't even go for a run. I don't even like to run, but I can't go for a run. I would love to be able to do TikTok dances with my daughter, like I used to. These are all things that have been taken from us, including my hobbies of hiking, fly fishing, ice fishing, skiing. I get so frustrated that there's so many things that I can't do. Stuff that I do around my house, I now have to hire somebody to do. But before I could just do it on my own. And whenever someone leaves our house, which we've got teenagers, so it happens all the time, we are nervous and always checking on them to see where they're at, hoping that they will make it home safely. It's a new fear for us. It's a new fear for me, just to even make it home. I have a golf ball in my truck that when I start getting anxious, anxiety when I'm driving, I can grab that golf ball and rub the dots, the dimples in it, to help ground me, to help me calm down. And I always go back in my mind to that night, me being the driver, if there was something that I could have done, something I could have done different. I replay the events leading up to it constantly in my mind. Like Rogan going back to get himself home. How long we sat at a stoplight listening to a song. Could I have gone a different route? Could I have gone slower? Could I have gone faster? These are things that I struggle with every day. Every day I'm in constant pain and have no way to get the relief that I need. I have to go to work. I have a family to support, and I work in construction and drive a lot, so I can't take painkillers. When I get up in the morning, I say a prayer that the pain today will not be that bad, and then I'll be able to do the things that I need to do to take care of my family. It is a daily struggle. Some days it's hourly. But I will not let James' choice to drink and drive that night keep me from trying every day to get better. Your Honor, I don't know Jamie. I don't know her personality. I've never talked to her. I don't plan on talking to her. So the decision to drive drunk that night was made well before April 28th, 2023. I'm a strong believer that people have a moral compass in their lives, whether we agree with that compass or not. Everybody has a moral compass, and Jamie made the decision that it was okay to drink and drive well before that night. There is a statement that Jamie made in one of the calls to her father where she asked, why did this happen to me? Like she didn't have control over this. Your Honor, nothing happened to Jamie. Jamie happened to Sam. Jamie happened to Aric. Jamie happened to Brogan. Jamie happened to me. Jamie happened to everybody that was impacted by this. She chose well before that night to drink and drive, and this would be okay. It was not. I'm not sure that Jamie is remorseful. We are here today, a little over 19 months later, listening to her plead guilty. Even though I am thankful for that, and that we are going to trial, we did not get to delay the physical and emotional prison that Jamie put us in for 19 months. The evidence was there. Why did it take this long? Jamie will serve her time and the penalty that the court decides, and we will respect that. She will eventually get out, but the prison that she has put us in will be with us the rest of our lives. We will never get Sam back. our lives will never be the same. I think about having grandchildren and not being able to get on the ground and play with them. I know the court will do what it needs to do, and we will accept that. And I thank you for your time, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Thank you, Honor. Aric Hutchinson. Sir, please state your name for the record.
Yes, Aric, A-R-I-C,
And your last name, sir?
Hutchinson, H-U-C-C-A.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sam was my wife. I was sitting next to her on the golf cart. I've been thinking about what to say ever since that night. What do you say when your world's shattered? Physically, I'm in pain every day. My face hurts, my back hurts, feet hurt. I struggle to get through every day. I've seen more doctors than I can count. I've seen more therapists, more psychiatrists, done more procedures than I ever care to do, and I still feel I'm at the same point as when I found out that day. My world will never change what happened that night. I think about that night every single day, in the last moments I had with Sam on the golf cart. She told me she didn't want the night to end, and I kissed her on the forehead, and then the next thing I remember is waking up in the hospital. And I see my mom's face, still wearing the wedding dress from the night before, and I knew instantly. And so I asked where Sam. I knew she wasn't there. I was more than anything. Gives me instead of Sam. I wish I died that night, so she didn't have to go alone. I wish I saw you coming. I jumped off the golf cart, so you would only run me over. And pray to God that you missed that golf cart. We did not get hit. We got ran through at 65 miles per hour. There's no way any three of us should be alive. All four of us should have died that night. But I'm a firm believer Sam saved us. That's who she is. And she would have took one for all of us. Said, take me, save these guys. The guilt with that I live with every single second of every day is unbearable. You took the greatest human being I've ever met. She's not coming back. She's gone. She was my world. And I'd give anything just for 1 second to hold her. She wanted children, and she talked me into having two. She wanted them so bad that she wanted to start having kids, or trying to have kids before the wedding. I was nervous that she wouldn't be able to fit into her wedding dress. So we decided to wait till after the wedding to start a family. I don't have joy, I don't have passion, I don't have drive. I feel like I'm stuck in hell. I wish every day that I'd have that. Do you know what it's like to vow to protect your wife and to do anything for her, and then to lose her hours after that? Something nobody should have to go through. This tragedy has touched so many people around the world. I've received letters, messages, strangers all over the country or world, just at home with a lot of people. And they have shown so much love and support. Your sentence does not matter to me. If I had it my way, I'd give you life. It seems only fair since you took Sam's life and the hole that you've ripped through our entire family, my family, and all our friends. But I know that decision is not up to me. Regardless of what decision is made, I still will be in this hell. I still will have to go through everything. My brother-in-law will still have pain, will still have surgery. Sam's family will still miss their daughter and sister. Sam was a light to all of us. She was the wrong person to die that night. This is a quote from Sam's vows. She said, I will love you today, tomorrow, and until I take my last breath on this earth. I am forever yours. That was the hours before you killed her. Thank you for your time, Randy.
There's nothing further.
Taking additional sentence.
We'll leave that discretion for dealing with facts and circumstances, case, such as people themselves.
Your Honor, with the court's indulgence, I'd like to address the court in argument on behalf of Ms. Komoroski. Thank you.
You may proceed.
May it please the court, I have had the privilege of representing Jamie Komoroski for the last 18 months. And before I get into my sentencing argument, I would just like to take a moment to truly express my deepest condolences to the Miller family, the Hutchinson family, the Garrett families. For my entire defense team, as well as the Komoroski family, we are truly regretful that you had to go through this. And I hope that your injuries will eventually clear up, and I'm so sorry that you have lost Samantha in your lives, and I mean that genuinely. Our entire defense team and the Komoroski family cannot fathom the pain that these lovely families are going through. And while we know it's never enough, we genuinely convey those deepest sympathies and prayers. And I want the court and everyone in the courtroom to know that Jamie has heard the calls for punishment. And as you will soon hear, she recognizes those calls are justified. Punishment is one cornerstone of our criminal justice system. And punishment is warranted here. No one is contesting that. Most importantly, Jamie. And we also recognize that punishment serves deterrence purposes. It ensures that people are accountable for crimes that are committed, especially those that, like in this case, involve victims. Here has been highlighted a beautiful bride lost her life, and several were seriously injured. That's, as I mentioned, that's not lost upon me, the Komoroskis, or our entire defense team, Your Honor. We also just respectfully ask this court to equally consider various other sentencing factors that are likewise cornerstones to the criminal justice system. Factors that we submit are material of fashioning an appropriate sentence here. And those factors necessarily include Jamie's history, her character, her rehabilitative potential, which must be equally weighed with the need to protect society, to deter and to punish. It is my hopeful goal to convey to this honorable court that there is more to Jamie than just the person who committed these terrible crimes and who made these terrible decisions on April 28th. Jamie is a 27-year-old girl who stands before this court with no prior criminal offenses. She's never before been charged with a crime, save a couple minor traffic violations, never even been disciplined for a single infraction.
It was only a matter of time, I think.
Through her entire life, Jamie has maintained a warm and caring outlook on life for all those around her. She's strived to help others even from a young age, entrusted by so many to care for infants and young children in some of the families where she grew up and in the Charleston metro area. This compassion and care is what caused Jamie to volunteer annually in high school to support the Special Olympics, a cause that was near and dear to her heart since she was a young child. As the court heard, Jamie attended college in Coastal Carolina and obtained her science and business administration degree. And she ended her career at college on the dean's list, ultimately moving to Charleston after graduating in hopes that there would be employment she could sustain. Maintaining full-time employment, like for so many others, proved elusive for this young graduate. But instead, Jamie took a number of part-time jobs, including continuing babysitting services and working in the service industry in and around the Folly Beach area. Now, sadly, since her college graduation, Your Honor, Jamie has struggled with the demons of alcohol abuse. That is obviously clear here today. And this is something that has likewise challenged her extended family. Jamie was abusing alcohol on a near daily basis, and oftentimes well over in excess. And her addiction, I want to make this point very clearly to the court. It is not offered as an excuse to her conduct whatsoever, or to make it appear that she somehow is the victim. We all recognize most importantly, Jamie, that is not the case. She knows no one forced her to drink or drive a car. She, more than anyone in this courtroom, knows that. And I raise this only to demonstrate that her alcohol addiction, the level and scope of it, played a central role in how we arrived here today. As the court is well aware, this is unfortunately not a unique tale for those who struggle with alcohol abuse. Jamie undoubtedly made a tragic and terrible decision to get behind the wheel of a car on April 28th while significantly intoxicated. And it was her decision, and no one else's. And I can tell you, after talking to Jamie on a near daily basis during the entire course of my representation, this evening continues to haunt her, and it will continue to do so for the rest of her life, no matter what happens in this courtroom today. Every day, Jamie tells me she wishes she could go back and change what she did, to shake that young girl to her senses. Even Jamie will admit that she doesn't recognize who she was back then, a sentiment that candidly even friends have shared.
It was like a year ago.
She can't. Now, Your Honor, it's often been said that character is truly demonstrated in times of struggle and failure, not in times of success. And in that vein, and in that concept, I ask the court to consider Jamie's actions and behavior since these tragic events of April 28th, in addition to her personal history and characteristics. Jamie has not approached this with a woe is me attitude or felt sorry for herself or tried to endorse any victim mentality. Instead, she immediately accepted her addiction and embraced the need for alcohol treatment. And while there were inherent limitations in the substance and depth of that treatment, she did what she could.
When you say inherent limitations, what are you referring to?
She was not able to be visited by a therapist while she was at Alcan. And based on the
How long
restrictions,
was she at?
she was there for a year. The court will indulge me for one moment. From April 28th, 2023 until her release on March 1st, 2024.
Is there a reason she didn't avail herself of the programs at the jail?
The programs are very limited based on the ability to communicate with inmates there.
No,
She-
there's a peer program, the 16 weeks that's available. Someone could have asked that if you ordered it. She could have well taken advantage of that.
No, Your Honor, to be sure, she did. I'm talking about more substantive treatment, which obviously
Here is a substantive program. Yes, I'm not sure.
she did avail herself
She
of
did
that.
do the peer program?
Yes, ma'am. Excuse me, Your Honor, one second.
Did she do the peer program in school? It's an acronym, PIER. It's a substance abuse intensive program that's 16 weeks at the jail. It's offered by Charleston Center. It's substantive drug and alcohol treatment. You have to sign up for it. We'll come seek you out.
I do not.
So she did not. Okay, you may continue.
I apologize.
That's okay.
Jamie, as the court heard, she's been participating in AA meetings while detained at Alcan, and since her release to restricted house arrest, in participating in meetings 6 days a week. She has hosted in-person meetings at her apartment every Friday, and also chairs an AA meeting on a weekly basis. Jamie has also volunteered to answer the AA hotline once a week, trying to offer steady and experienced counseling to individuals who may be in crisis.
So why didn't she try to get some inpatient treatment? What was the impediment to that? Or having something, not that I'm knocking AA, because I don't, it is for many, it is a great program that assists them, but it usually follows something more substantive, such as intensive inpatient treatment or ongoing intensive outpatient treatment. And I think that's the question that I'm more interested, or most interested in.
Why didn't she go to rehab?
When you say someone's availed themselves of substance abuse treatment, I expect something more than AA.
We attempted to do that, Your Honor, when we had our detention or bond hearing. In fact,
But
there's
she's been out since March 21st, so let's go from there forward.
an extremely restrictive house arrest. And as I understand it, unable to
The judge would have allowed it.
the visits unless we were to go to a facility. Or
Which
she
you
could
could have asked for permission to do, correct? And so that's what there was no attempt to have any type of treatment of that sort.
Endorsement of that permission from the state was not forthcoming, Your Honor.
Did you ask?
We did, we had those discussions.
Okay. Did she make any attempts to have any online therapy?
as best as she could, Your Honor. Yes, ma'am.
You may continue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
While detained at Alcan, she obtained a professional skills credential from South Carolina Works in digital literacy while she was detained. And following her release under the House release conditions, as she alluded to, she's been working 2 jobs, trying to continue to be a contributing member as best as she could under those circumstances to society. She worked remotely as a web designer, and then one colleague through AA was so compelled by her that she hired her as a remote digital marketing assistant, which I am told is a job that she can avail herself of ultimately when she's released. As you'll soon hear from Jamie herself, she deeply regrets these decisions that she made on April 28th. And since the day we were retained, she's been heartbroken for Samantha, Aric, and the families that were involved in this ever since the crash. It's important, and I know she wants me to express this, that she is a daughter and sister, and she has, since day one, expressed her sorrow and remorse for the actions that she committed. This has been Jamie's goal and intention ever since we were retained. But on the advice of counsel, we recommended that she hold back on that. There was a period of time where discovery was not available for a while, and any delay in this guilty plea should be attributed solely to our obligation, our ethical and professional obligation to explore defenses and mitigation possibilities, not because of Jamie's failure or unwillingness to plead guilty and exhibit remorse and accept her responsibility. One instance, as attached in our sentencing memorandum, related to a time where we needed to retain a blood alcohol forensics toxicologist to review the state's findings, and we have attached counter findings to that.
Did you all provide a hard copy of the mitigation packet that you provided to the court to come up with today? Mr. Williams indicated he planned to bring one with him.
Yes, sir, we have one.
And do you wish to have that filed?
We
already filed?
have an active version of it filed and unredacted version.
Yes. You may continue.
Thank you, Reverend.
You're welcome.
As I referenced, we included findings of our forensic toxicologist who was retained on behalf of the defense, but I want to emphasize that regardless of that lower BAC, Jamie recognizes the gravity of her crimes and has consistently shown unabated remorse for her actions. I offer that only for the court's consideration in the context of mitigation, and we certainly recognize that regardless, it is above the legal limit. Your Honor, taking all this together, we respectfully submit that Jamie has demonstrated and continue to demonstrate strong rehabilitative potential. And the prospect of her rehabilitation and restoration to a useful place in society, which are key legitimate interests of sentencing, is unquestionable. As you will hear from Jamie herself, she will never be an offender in the criminal justice system again. She continues to work on bettering herself and improving herself following these terrible acts. She helps others by sponsoring and paying her terrible story forward of what happened to these families and seizing any opportunity to help other alcoholics in an effort to prevent further unnecessary death or injury. So, Your Honor, we ask that you consider these sentencing factors equally with the obvious need for deterrence, protection, and punishment that has been alluded to. We have cited for the court's consideration as it sees fits numerous empirical studies that show that there is limited relationship between sentence length and general or specific deterrence. And it actually demonstrates that longer incarceration could potentially be counterproductive for the types of individuals who have no criminal history like Jamie. But again, I leave that to the court's consideration. As I open with, Jamie recognizes that she is due a punishment for her crimes today. The court, as you heard me say, she's been detained at Alcan from April 28, 2023 until her release on March 1st, 2024. And since her release, she's been fully compliant with the terms of her monitored house arrest. Pursuant to South Carolina Code Section 241340, we respectfully ask that the court grant Jamie credit for her time served under strictly monitored house arrest, of which she's had no violations. And should the court agree with that request, it would give Jamie a total of approximately 580 days jail credit as of today,
When was she released and placed on the monitor?
March 1st, 2024. Thank you, Ron.
You're welcome.
Incorporating this credit, we only ask that the court fashion a sentence that's sufficient but not longer than necessary under these circumstances. It is genuinely hoped by Jamie and by all of us and her family that while she caused this great tragedy, her actions on this one day of her 27-year life will not solely define her as a human, and the court will see that. Prior to becoming a defense attorney, Your Honor, I spent the bulk of my professional career as a federal and state prosecutor, including 10 years as an appointed district attorney. And I had the unfortunate obligation to determine countless plea offers in felony DUI cases in a dense jurisdiction of nearly 700,000 people. And sadly, these types of cases were not an uncommon occurrence. To be sure, these are the most difficult, gut-wrenching cases to assess. And as is the case here, defendants are typically people who have lived very productive lives with no criminal record. And I just want to highlight that what I believe the court is familiar with. These defendants don't set out to commit crimes with malice or evil in their hearts. But nonetheless, those actions that they take have destroyed or taken lives. Balancing the interests of the state, the victims, and the defendant is extremely difficult. And Jamie here is no different. She has chosen to plead guilty to her crimes without the protection of a plea agreement. The court should see this, I hope, as evidence of Jamie's genuine remorse and acceptance of responsibility for her actions. She never intended to challenge these charges because she knew what she did was wrong the minute that it happened. She would never put the Millers, the Hutchinsons, or the remaining family members through the pain of a trial, having gone through what they already have. Your Honor, I say the last concept for what I submit is the most fundamental cornerstone of the criminal justice system, and that's mercy. Mercy is not often spoke of in the courtroom, but the courtroom is precisely where the place where mercy should exist, especially considering the nature of felony DUI cases where tragedy exists on both sides of the V. It is difficult to keep mercy at the forefront, especially when a beautiful life like Samantha's has been taken, and wonderful people that stand and sit behind me have been through what they've been through. But I humbly submit this is where mercy plays the biggest part. Jamie and our defense team are not arguing for release. As stated, we recognize that punishment is warranted here. What we simply ask the court is this 27-year-old girl with no criminal history, who struggles to face the demons of alcohol abuse, and who made a tragic error in judgment to drink and drive, who has no history of violence, and who most importantly has regretted and has been remorseful for her actions since the moment she committed them. Is this girl deserving of the court's mercy? We humbly submit the answer is yes, and under these circumstances, ask the court to properly fashion a sentence that is sufficient but not greater than necessary to punish the conduct here. Jamie's a young girl who made a truly terrible error in judgment, and there but for the grace of God go us all. That concludes my argument, Your Honor. With the court's permission, I would invite some of the members of the Komoroski family and other supporters to address the court.
Oh, no.
I have a list of 7 people. Is that, well, not including your client, I have a list of 6 people. Is that who you're referring to?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. The first person I'd like to invite to address the court is Jamie's father.
Let's take a vote. I don't want to hear the 7 people speak on Jamie's behalf. Do you guys want to hear it? Because we can come back and see what her sentence is. So let's see a show of hands. If you want to go see Sarah Boone right now and start that, give me a B in the chat. If you want to stay here, what is no me? You don't want to hear it either. Okay. We can come back and find out what her sentencing is later. So we're going to switch over to Sarah Boone. Let's see if the volume over here is better. You can let me know so that I can modulate mine. Oops. That's not where we wanted to go.
Good morning. room because they were trying to protect me.
Okay, let's take another vote. Do you want to start with Sarah's statement? Can we start with Sarah? Because I think she just started to speak. What do you say about that? Okay, we're going to start with Sarah because then we're closer to real time. And then if you guys want to go back on your own and watch all the other people speak on Sarah's behalf, you can do that. Okay? Can we come to a happy agreement? Okay. All right. Tell me if this volume is better than the last volume so I can speak more normally. Testing, 1, 2, ready, go.
I have 6 handwritten letters.
Is it any better?
First one is 1 page. Second one is 2 pages. Third one is 1 page. Fourth one is 2 pages. Fifth one is 2 pages. Sixth one is 2 pages. I have a typed letter from Diane Smith, the assistant chaplain. I have another typed letter from a Nicole Ray.
Okay, ready? We're going to go to Sarah Boone speaking.
Yes, please. Email from a Danielle Parsons.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Judge, I would like to call Sarah Boone.
You may proceed.
If you could take it.
Yes, please.
We're not that far behind, so no spoilers, please.
Ms. Boone, you can be seated. You've been previously sworn. You may inquire, sir.
Pain mentally, physically, emotionally. I had to be hospitalized more than once. There's, like I said,
1 page.
Judge, I would like to call.
That was my fault because I had the volume turned down. Okay, ready, set, go.
Ms. Boone, you can be seated. You've been previously sworn. You may inquire, sir.
For the record, just state your name again.
Sarah Boone.
Now, this is unlike a trial, so you're allowed to speak in a narrative form, as well as I understand you have taken some notes or written a letter that you want to read from, and then you want to speak to the court after that.
Yes.
Why don't you go ahead and get started?
This is actually an edited version of.
You may need to modulate your volume now.
I had a lot to say. I've had a lot of time to think about things, and I didn't really know how to put it on paper. And I didn't know how much I could say or how little I should say. So what I have here is, like I said, an edited version. But I would like to read the more important parts that I feel that everyone should know that wasn't said in my actual trial. And on top of what I have on paper, this is just the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg.
The tip of the tip of the
So
tip.
I wanted to read this, and then if I may, I would like to address everyone in my apology on top of my statement.
You may proceed, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Kimchi sukiroi is a kind of Japanese ceramic style which means to repair with gold. In this tradition, when a ceramic piece breaks, an artisan will fuse the pieces back together again using liquid gold or gold dust lacquer.
Arts and
Rather than
crafts.
being covered up, the breaks become more obvious and a brilliant new piece of art emerges from the brokenness. It embraces flaws, weakness, and imperfections, and also teaches the essence of resilience. Every crack in a ceramic piece is a part of its history, and each piece becomes more beautiful because it has been broken. This is the wisdom of Kintu Sukuroi. In my wisdom and with all of my repairs, then, now, and ongoing, God is, has been, and will always be my artisan. All of my gold is forgiveness. This has held me together, made me shine brighter, and overcome the damage caused by George Torres, the Torres family, the justice system, Orange County Corrections Department, social media,
The damage caused by George Torres. I don't think that's a good way to start. But she's a beautiful piece of ceramic. Okay. All right, you guys, we needed this. That was really heavy, what we just did. But what we just did by watching Jamie Lee Komoroski plead guilty was something that in my mind was so necessary that we had to see. That the tears were real. Sometimes you need a good cry. This whack job is talking about the damage that George Torres did. And I just got to rewind a little tiny bit. I'm going to speed her up. We're going to be on real time. It's going to be like almost like we didn't miss a thing. The damage caused by George Torres. We need permission to laugh. Permission to laugh. I'm sorry. I know. Rest in peace, George. This is not, we are not laughing at you. We are laughing with you, George. We are laughing with you, George, because I know you are up there laughing, George. We just watched the biological dad of a bride who was killed on her wedding day by a drunk driving, privileged 27-year-old rich girl from New Jersey, I think, who plowed into your daughter. We heard the biological father say, when you get to hell, Jamie Lee Komoroski, I'm going to be there opening the door for you. This is what we need right now. Permission to laugh. Onward.
the Torres family, the justice
Hold on.
shine brighter and overcome the damage caused by George Torres, the Torres family, the justice system, Orange County Corrections Department, social media, scoundrel detectives, infamy, defamation, ongoing constitutional rights violations, second-degree murder, forced into being pro se. Just as gold is very precious, forgiveness is invaluable.
She's always the victim. She's always the victim.
Forgiveness is not an attempt to change or forget who, what, or how you've lived through to be so gold, but an act of grace, humility, and considerable self-compassion to be set free from sorrow. Withholding forgiveness denies your brilliance and adds even greater grief and deeper heartache, irreparable cracks on top of the already that no one deserves, no matter the pain or disappointment, untruths or injustice. It doesn't matter. As the more broken you are, even though now different than before, you've become more outstanding and more extraordinary. Above all, when you let go of blame, misunderstandings, excuses, give up your anger and cease from resentment, this is forgiven. And when you forgive, you heal. And when you heal, you move forward.
Oh, so she's forgiving George?
My goal begins with George Torres, and every time he slapped me, kicked, punched, spit on, raped, stabbed, choked, laughed at, pushed, pulled, dragged, whipped, tripped, stole from, lied, terrorized, threatened, humiliated, forced, degraded, made me cry. Every time he tried to end me, defeat, or destroy. I forgive George for beating me senseless, for trying to sleep because I had to go to work or my son's field trip the next day, for ruining my deceased family's heirlooms, traditions, and keepsakes, my son's furniture, destroying the television we watched together, for wrecking our townhome by breaking windows, punching holes in the walls and doors, ramming his entire body into glass doors, kicking in my front and back door over and over and over, for breaking or removing the locks from all of the doors and sometimes the knobs altogether, so I had nowhere to feel safe, including the sacred space of my son's room where he beat me bloody on his bed. For terrorizing and threatening my blind and deaf dogs by leaving the gate open I built to keep them safe, telling me he hoped I'd find their bloated dead body in the pond or scrape their remains off of the pavement, for kicking them off of the bed and throwing across the room because they were trying to protect me. For threatening to make me unrecognizable to my son by breaking all of the bones in my face, like his brother Moses did to him after he kept seeing all of the bruises from George beating me, like all of the times their father beat their mother.
Did we ever hear about him breaking all the bones in her face? Like all the times he saw his father beat his mother? Oh, she's bringing the family tea. She's bringing the family laundry with her.
For all of the drunken rages and fist fights with so many neighbors when wandering into their apartments during hunting expeditions after I had escaped. For drowning me in liquor and wine because I didn't want to drink, causing me to urinate on myself, then butting the end of the bottle in my face, giving me 2 black eyes and a bloody nose. For making me experience what it is to be sodomized. Threatening to kill my friends and the neighbors when they checked on me to make sure I was alive and in one piece. for threatening to burn down our townhome and set my car on fire because I got a job, for holding me hostage on weekends my son was supposed to come over by keeping my keys around his neck, my phone in his crotch, and a butcher knife stuck in the middle of the table as a warning not to ask anything or try to leave.
Everything.
For stabbing me in the leg and not letting me call 911 for an ambulance or seek help, where I nearly bled to death until I concocted a lie to save him from being arrested. For destroying my phone with a hammer because my son called. For me experiencing ever being arrested and after today, prison. For beating me almost blind, crushing my occipital lobe. For having me experience what it means to see stars, like in the cartoons, where a character has a tall lump on their head. I had that too, and many times. For dragging me downstairs by my hair in the middle of the night just to sit next to him. For taking my car driving drunk with my debit card to buy more alcohol while I slept, even after I kindly explained the importance of my car to take my son to school foremost, me to work, and he to his batterers intervention classes and probation officer meetings, where I would be forced to sit for hours in the parking lot waiting for him. For causing me so much trauma and pain, mentally, physically, emotionally, I had to be hospitalized more than once. For destroying my reputation and integrity, for my M for murderer scarlet letter, not letting me feel safe to live, talk to other people, spend time with my son, have a job, friendships, simply go to the bathroom with the door closed, or go to sleep soundly or comfortably. I forgive George for lying, for him trying in so many ways, so many times, to end me with his terrifying love. I also forgive the Torres family, his mother and father foremost, also his 2 ex-wives and daughters, all for knowing who George was capable of and has done in the past, his history of violence and where he learned it, then to keep turning a blind eye when I would ask for help. All of his siblings, including Farrell Torres, who is now on his way to prison for stabbing the mother of their baby in the side of her head. For everyone who knew what George was doing to me, sometimes how and when, but allowed and enabled. I forgive them for caring too late. I hope they all ask themselves while quiet and comfortable in bed at night the uneasy question, what could I have done to stop this from happening to both of them? And after all the time Sarah tried to, by asking for help from all of us and so many times. Another great contributor of my goal to social media, with its greed, insensitivity, deception, obvious exploitation, and advantageous gain from my criminal case as a whole, and for sentencing me by anticipation as a result of ignorance and hate, conjured and fabricated by the organized crime that is social media, which condemned me in the court of global public opinion since the beginning. My family law.
I'm starting to twitch. Wait a second. Hold on. Something's being conjured up from the organized crime of social media. I got to write this down. Hang on.
Many times. Another great contributor of my goal to social media, with its greed, insensitivity, deception, obvious exploitation, and advantageous gain from my criminal case as a whole, and for sentencing me by anticipation as a result of ignorance and hate, conjured and fabricated by the organized crime that is social media, which...
The organized crime that is social media. I mean, it kind of is, right? If you think about it.
Condemned me in the court of global public opinion since the beginning. My family law case is the new prey waiting to be picked apart and pillaged from me being made infamous by social media in my criminal case. It simply seems I cannot forgive and be forgiven and move forward. Social media has made me a pariah. It has caused great oppression and undeniable disadvantages, especially by broadcasting and manipulating my cases online. In my criminal case, as a result, my opportunities to be given a fair, proper, and uninfluenced successful conclusion was heavily depleted and poisoned. I forgive them. Also, all of the media tycoons for not having a life of their own, trying so desperately to make themselves seem so right by making me appear so wrong. Forgiveness for prejudgment.
So right. There's a Dave Matthews song called So Right. And I have to speed this down to normal speed because every single word is, think of how long she's been writing this in her head. Think of how much thought she's put into this statement. And think of just how wrong it is on so many levels and how she has no idea how to read the room and how whatever the maximum is, she's probably going to get. She is a good writer. You're right. Now she's on to the media tycoons who have no life. Okay, here we go.
Also, all of the media tycoons for not having a life of their own, trying so desperately to make themselves seem so right by making me appear so wrong. Forgiveness for prejudgment, ridiculous theatrics, lies, making and taking blood money from my and others' misfortunes, accidents, and catastrophes. It's all over their hands and their keyboards. And even after all that's been said and done, theorized, hypothesized, scrutinized, and blasphemed, in my case, still no one knows me.
Bang, bang. Bang, bang.
In the end, I forgive myself for not choosing my life sooner, for not being more brave, vigilant, bolder, and outspoken, stronger, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, for being hopeless, desperate, simple-minded, weak, and inexperienced. I forgive myself for not realizing I was enduring a life of domestic violence and that the vicious cycle of never ends. I had nothing to compare to. I've never been hit by a man ever before in my life. I was raised hitting a woman was wrong and should never happen. No excuse. I forgive myself for not escaping permanently, for not fighting back sooner to save myself, my son, my dogs, home, and car. Having 20/20 hindsight thinking of everything I could have done differently or better to avoid the outcome. I think about this every day since. Also, of all the good days we had together, for him at least, while I was constantly in hyperdrive, high alert, and paranoid, making sure I did everything right all the time. If not, the great possibility I would be ended as George threatened me with so many times before.
I'm sure her lawyer had
Forgive
no
myself
control.
for
He's
falling
just
in
like,
love with a monster, and no matter how grotesque he may become, I still loved him, hoped, and forgave. I tried breaking the spell so he wouldn't be a monster anymore. I saw who he was inside. George made me then, now, and always love him for all of his cracks also. We made each other our own brilliant pieces of art from the cracks and repairs. Unfortunately, not all cracks can be. In all of my forgiveness, George is my greatest lesson and will forever be a part of me. I think of him every day and still speak to him when alone on the rec yard. I ask his forgiveness and that he looks for me at the gates of heaven so I can tell him how sorry I am, endlessly, and that I never stopped loving him. In all of it and still. When I first came to jail, I put my mat under my bed and
she
cried
still
all day
loves
and
him.
all night for months, only falling asleep from being so exhausted with grief. I wrote him letters. I wrote his family and his daughters apologizing for asking for their forgiveness. But due to fear that my life or sons would be jeopardized, I did not send. I am sorry. I cannot begin to fathom any of their grief and sadness. Please forgive me.
She just talked about
Almost everything reminds me of
what a
him.
jerk he
Seeing
was.
my stab wound, especially it's every day, especially. It truly reminds me that all I really did live through.
Everything reminds me of him, especially my stab wound. But I'm really sorry. Oh my God. She's just,
George haunts me. He is everywhere. I believe because I do still love him, think of him, and miss his laugh the most. In my heart, I know he is with me and understands that this tragedy was not intentional. I hope everyone can, his family foremost. I didn't mean for this to happen. Please wholeheartedly know that, and always, I would never. Forgive me, George. Forgive me, Torres family. Forgive me, Judge Kraynick. To the entire planet, please forgive me. I graciously and humbly ask for consideration, for forgiveness to be extended instead of judgment, for reconciliation and restoration for all of us to move forward. My apology is profuse and ceaseless. Allow me, please, to brush off the muck, wipe the blood off of my face, and fix the cuts in my skin. I ask for understanding in what really happened and for how long, for second chances, repentance, and redemption, to advocate for all domestic violence survivors, to help them overcome, heal, and still hope, always, to make their voices heard, to confidently walk with all of their scars on the outside and the inside, to help them not ever become a casualty of domestic violence as so many others, to stop the abuse and maltreatment before it's too late. There is always hope, and you can survive. In my soft-spoken conclusion, I ask this.
soft-spoken conclusion.
Celebrated Woman of the Year, if it were...
She's nothing if not soft-spoken. This is her soft-spoken conclusion. Oh boy. Here we go.
I who died.
Wait a minute. Sorry.
Darling mother, in my soft-spoken conclusion, I ask this. Would I be the darling mother, celebrated Woman of the Year, if it were I who died? How many daughters, mothers, sisters, aunts, grandmothers, nieces, and friends have been because they did? I am a survivor.
I'm a survivor.
Learn to do good, seek justice, rebuke oppressors, defend the fatherless, plead for the widow. Isaiah 1:17, all-encompassing, protect the abused.
Boone, is that the end of your written statement?
Yes.
Now, gathering your thoughts, did you want to make an oral statement?
I do.
All right, would you do that now?
So she has more. She's going to do
My
improv.
my verbal statement is primarily to the Torres family, to the
Now-
judge.
Okay, so now she's going to do a little improv. That was her written statement. She's going to do a little improv. Oh, we don't want the sleep timer, even though she is kind of putting me to sleep. No, she's not. I cannot fall asleep for this. We're going to go a little faster so we can get on real time so that we hear it all. And we can hear the sentence in real time.
To his daughters. I know you all know who I really am and that I did care for George and that I do still love George. I know you know that we had very many good days. And I take offense to the statement of being said that this is just for a moment. Right now with me here in the courtroom in front of you all, this is just for a moment. But the moments before that, in order for me to be here, is endless. It's everlasting. The scars that I have on the inside, my outside scars have healed except for my stab wound. But this has changed me as a person to see things differently and to understand things differently and to not be weak and just try to protect yourself and forever, regardless of the time that I may receive from today, I forever will have this experience. I forever will have George Torres with me in my heart, in my mind,
So will
my
we.
body and my soul.
We will
As
have
he
this
and I used to say
experience.
that we were one soul split into two bodies. This is not just for a moment. It may be for everyone in this courtroom, but when I leave, this is forever.
Twin
When you all leave,
flames.
that this is
Look it up.
forever. This is forever for everyone here and those who it matters to most. I am one of those who will experience this forever. I'm sorry. Words do not define my shame, and I don't know what else it is that I can say and convey to the Torres family how this happened. The ifs and whys and how really don't matter. It happened, and I'm sorry. Words cannot describe.
I think she has many
And I hope
personalities.
that everyone can forgive me, the Torres family most of all, and his daughters, because I know what he meant to them. And I don't think that anybody ever understood what he meant to me and I to him. And I ask for forgiveness.
Boone, I have just one or two questions, if you don't mind.
Oh, no.
And you can speak on it if you want or not. But this is a unique case, and one of the reasons it's so unique is that you were in jail for 4.5 years prior to your trial. And I understand that when you were brought up as a child, that you did have some spirituality in your family, some church, some religion.
Always.
But I understand that you got away from that. Did you have a chance during the 4.5 years to look back at your spirituality?
Absolutely. You know, everyone supposes that this is one of the worst experiences of my life, and it's actually been one of my greatest.
My greatest life
If I were not beaten
experiences.
to death, I was going to work myself to death on the outside, and I never had time to get back into my Bible and to pray and to be with the Lord. And I, being here incarcerated, have
Girl, everybody finds God in prison. They just do.
had time, of course, to get closer to God, to reacquaint myself to him and realize what it's all about. This is all temporary. And when I say temporary, I don't mean by being set free in jail or from prison or wherever else. It means being set free and temporary, meaning that you work for something higher, you work for God, that you strive for your crown to be placed upon your head by Jesus Christ by being said,
Now
you
she's
have
a
done well, my
queen.
good and faithful servant. I've always tried to be a good and faithful servant. I was just a servant as opposed to doing all that I can when my family were alive and I was going through everything up to this point. I've become so much more closer to the Lord, and it's made me such a better person. And I hope that I am an example going forward of the Lord's light and can draw many people to me because of it.
You can draw people to you like a prophet. She's going to be the new Jesus Christ.
No, I assumed that was the final word.
Did you just say that she's going to?
Turn back to council's table.
draw people to her? She's going to
Anything
become
else
like
from
a
your side of the
preacher,
ledger, Mr. Owens?
prophet?
No more witnesses, Judge, just arguments.
Okay.
I'm
Anything else
twitching.
in rebuttal or just proceed to argument state? Okay. all
Oh
right,
my
motion
gosh,
is proceeded
there
to-
is our favorite our favorite court officer. Do you remember her? Do you remember how she fixed the mic during the trial? I love her. I don't know her name, but shout out to this court officer. Love her. She would escort Sarah back and forth to the bathroom. She would, when we couldn't hear Sarah, she went up there. I can't even think right now. My eyes twitching. She would adjust the mic for us. She was amazing. I love her so much. I wish I could get her on my channel. If anybody knows who she is, please give her my number, my email.
Proceed with your argument, either Mr. J or Mr. Cacciatore. You may proceed, sir.
Your Honor, I'm going to start my argument by what I anticipate Mr. Owens will
Find the mic, Cacciatore.
his presentation regarding the plea offer in this case. That she was offered a resolution in this case of 15 years in the Department of Corrections to begin with. I think it's important, though, that the entire circumstance of that plea offer is put forward. And there's something very critical to that. It's not just 15 years in the Department of Corrections. It's 15 years in the Department of Corrections, but it's predicated on something. And the consideration that it's predicated on is the defendant coming to court and accepting responsibility for her actions. For her coming to court and saying, I am responsible for George Torres's death, and I accept the punishment that comes with it. That consideration was never given in this case. And because that consideration was never given in this case, the offer of 15 years in no way represents what this case is worth, or what George Torres's life is worth. That is an offer predicated on a particular circumstance, a circumstance of a first-time defendant accepting responsibility and giving every benefit of the doubt in coming to court and saying that they are ready to be punished. Those conditions were never met. So then we turn to this case, and we turn to this crime, and we turn to the actions of the defendant of taking the law into her own hands and murdering George Torres. She has never shown remorse for that. She didn't show remorse for that here today. She again painted herself as the victim. She's the victim of George Torres. She recounted the litany of evil deeds and mistreatments that he perpetrated upon her. Yeah. She's the victim of George Torres' family. She's the victim of police. She's the victim of social media. It's all about Sarah Boone. Everything's about Sarah Boone, about how she is the victim.
He's right.
Sarah Boone sentenced every one of George Torres' loved ones to a life sentence.
Big case, Mike.
Just like she sentenced George Torres when he was in that suitcase.
She did.
George Torres lived out his last nightmarish circumstance in that suitcase, begging to be let out for several minutes, which undercuts any argument that this was somehow unsophisticated. There was ample time and opportunity over and over for her to do something different, but she went forward with taking the law into her own hands and ensuring that George Torres was never getting out of there, while she went up to bed and went to sleep for hours on end. She can't say that she was in duress for the same reason. She was in such duress of George Torres that she goes upstairs and goes to sleep for 11 hours. Your Honor, there's been nothing from the testimony of Dr. Harper either that establishes any type of diagnosis that would give this court a basis to downward depart. Dr. Harper has put blinders on to the fact that she has been incarcerated for 58 months. 58 months with the opportunity to receive mental health treatment, and the expert witness is absolutely incurious about what any of those records or diagnosis or anything that would have been there would have said. There is no valid basis for a downward departure in this case. She deserves a life sentence. Thank you.
Mr. Owens, response?
Mr. Owens.
Just Kraynick. First off, I want to thank you for taking the time to hear our side, hear the witnesses, and review the letters on Sarah Boone's behalf. We've all been here for this trial. We've all been here for other trials. We've all got some age on us. We've all got some life experience on us. And
Speak for yourself, Owens.
this was a unique homicide.
Thanks, Tracy.
Yeah. And as we all know, a lot of these cases are not black and white. They're shades of gray. And these crimes don't
50
occur
Shades of
as black and
Gray.
white. That there's generally a history, especially involving a domestic couple, a history that comes into play that must be explored. And a lot of what Sarah Boone testified to here today probably happened behind closed doors. And we all know that many times we do not know what happens behind closed doors between a man and a woman in their home, unless there is some reason for the neighbors or law enforcement or somebody else to get involved. And that happened in this case. And so gradually over time, as this event occurred, there was an investigation, and it was learned that there was a history of domestic violence involving these two parties. And what we learned was that physically there was violence, and there were photographs to establish that, as were introduced in the trial. And then there was testimony from experts, not only the defense expert, Dr. Harper, that Sarah Boone was the victim, and she was a victim of intimate partner violence, but coupled with the fact that the state's expert testified on the stand at the trial that Sarah Boone was a victim of intimate partner violence, that she suffered from this domestic or this battered spouse syndrome at the hands of George Torres. So there's two sides to it. And in a domestic violence situation like that, 95% of the women get out of that relationship. When
I don't know
violence
about
starts
that.
to occur,
Where-
they've either been raised.
No, where are you
certain
getting
way,
those
they have
statistics
a
from?
certain-
Hold on, ladies, men in the chat, victims, survivors. I know you're here. 95% get away. Hold on a second. Yo. Hold on.
The hands of George Torres. So there's two sides to it. And in a domestic violence situation like that, 95% of the women get out of that relationship. When violence starts to occur, they've either been raised a certain way.
Has
they have
nothing
a
to do with
certain
the way you're raised.
self-esteem about themselves.
He is not
where they
going
refuse to put
there.
up with it, knowing that it's wrong, knowing that they can do better. But there is a small percentage throughout the country that for whatever reason, mental health issues, addiction issues, whatever it is, it's complex. Financial reasons, children are involved, whatever. If you do any studying on it, there are circumstances where there is a group of women, predominantly women, it can happen to men, but majority of the time it's a woman that gets caught in this cycle of what we term as intimate partner violence. And we've heard the testimony about the cycle that occurs. It's over a period of time and it repeats itself, and you go through these phases. A lot of times the victim's not a great historian at trying to articulate it. She tried to do it here today. And I think on Sarah Boone's behalf, she is a unique individual. She's got the personality that she's got. I don't know, you heard from Dr. Harper that a lot of that was formulated based on the way her mother did not bond with her, the way that her father was the way that he was, the fact that she lost several relatives at a young age, and the trauma that can result. We heard from Dr. Harper that she did suffer from post-traumatic stress as it relates to that trauma in early childhood, and then again as it relates to the events that occurred between Mr. Torres and her. So it's complicated, Judge. It's complicated, but the jury has spoken. Sarah Boone was entitled under Florida law to present that defense, and she did. That testimony was allowed to be presented. She was allowed to testify, but the jury spoke. And so here we are today with you in a position to decide what is justice for Sarah Boone. And I don't know you that much other than our time together, but from what I know you try to do the right thing. And that's what we're asking the court to do, to have some discernment, to have some understanding of the unique situation that Sarah Boone found herself in. And quite frankly, Judge, this all didn't occur behind closed doors. A lot of this was in the public eye. Mr. Torres had, I believe, 3 criminal cases before the courts of this county in which Sarah Boone was a victim. Mr. Torres was the accused. Those cases were dismissed. We know from the history of this domestic violence field that that's normal, that Sarah Boone every time either tried to bond him out or tried to get the case dismissed. At some point, somebody has to stop. Somebody has to say, wait, what's going on here? This keeps repeating. It's going to get worse. Something's going to happen.
Both
The
things
system
can be
failed,
true.
Sarah.
Unsealed. I believe that.
I ask you to consider that.
I believe both things can be true.
Circumstances surrounding that failure and what led us here today. I've asked the court to consider a downward departure. I believe you've gotten a copy of the score sheet.
Not since before trial. Is the score sheet stipulated to?
Yes, yes, sir.
He's not going to give you any downward departure, I don't think.
0 months.
20.6 is the low end of the guidelines or something about.
It's 246.0 months.
That's the low end of the guidelines.
The low end is 20 years. I'm sorry, 20 years, 20.6 years state prison, I believe is the low end.
20.5. Yes, sir.
As the court knows, I believe it's on page 3. There are some aggravators that the court can consider in imposing the sentence, and then there are a list of mitigators that the court can consider in downward departing, meaning going lesser than the low end of the guidelines. And in the defendant's motion for downward departure, we mentioned, and I had Dr. Harper testify about 2 or 3 of the grounds, and the court needs to only find one to go below the guidelines. The capacity of the defendant to appreciate the criminal nature of her actions and to conform said actions to the requirements of the law were substantially impaired. Judge, I don't have to reiterate the facts and circumstances surrounding this event. You were here, you heard the testimony, you heard the circumstances surrounding what happened and how it happened. I would ask that you consider that as a mitigator. 2D, the defendant requires specialized treatment for a mental disorder that is not related to substance abuse or addiction and is amenable to treatment. I think it's fair to say here that we know that Sarah suffers from some mental health issues, objective mental health issues that have been opined by Dr. Harper and Dr. Werner. And you heard Dr. Harper testify about the post-traumatic stress disorder that she suffers from as it relates to this event, as it relates to her trauma that occurred in childhood. I think we heard from Dr. Werner. Dr. Werner.
Now there's a
testified
pairing
that
I'd pay
she
to
suffered from
see.
the alcohol
Phelps
abuse
and Sarah
disorder,
Boone.
as did Dr. Harper, but Dr. Werner also mentioned that she was not sure about the however,
Yada, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And I am making the
Lastly,
executive
defense
decision to fast
broken.
forward through him because he just made me mad.
She did nothing. No attempts to tamper with evidence.
Because she was too
No attempts
drunk.
after the fact to uncover any conduct whatsoever. No attempts to delete the videos from her phone. Here's my phone.
Because she didn't remember making the videos. She was blackout drunk. I'm sorry, but she's a raging alcoholic. She was. And I would submit that once you're an alcoholic, even if you stop drinking, you're still an alcoholic. She doesn't remember making the videos. She was blackout drunk. She didn't try and hide any evidence because she didn't remember that there was evidence.
Voluntarily given that information. I think that goes to the unsophisticated manner of unintentional death.
She cleaned out the mouse cage.
I remember the first time I saw the Suitcase video.
I don't care. I don't care. Yada, yada, yada.
That was presented at trial. The victim impact statements presented here today.
All right.
Statements of character witnesses, both orally and in writing. Dr. Harper's report and testimony. The defendant's testimony. Pre-sentencing
No
investigation.
spoilers.
The arguments of the state and the arguments of the defense. Court pronounces sentence as follows. Ms. Boone, court sentences you to life in the Department of Corrections with credit time served that Madam Clerk will provide to you momentarily. There are also court costs and costs of prosecution, which Madam Clerk will give you the
Life.
totals of momentarily. Due to the court levying a life sentence, the court is inclined to liquidate those to a civil judgment unless I hear opposition from the state.
No opposition, Your Honor.
All right. Madam Clerk, if you could please give us the credit time served and the court costs, please.
4 years, 9 months, and 8 days, and the court costs are $418, a state prosecution fee of $100, a dirt fee of $50, and a plea fee.
Right.
So the total would be $608.
$608. That's it.
All right, ma'am, the court costs and costs of prosecution are $618. Those will be liquidated to a civil judgment. You will be given credit time served of 4 years, 9 months, and 8 days. You will have 30 days from today to appeal the judgment and sentence in writing. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided to you. I'm going to have the courtroom deputy provide you the paperwork Because
Wow.
you've been incarcerated for the last 58 some odd months, the court is going to declare that you are indigent in this matter. I cannot appoint the public defender to represent you as they are conflicted out. Similarly, I cannot appoint the regional conflict counsel to represent you for the same reasons. The clerk will appoint an attorney from the conflict wheel who specializes in appellate litigation. And again, you'll have 30 days from today to appeal that judgment and sentence in writing. Do you have any questions for me? You will now be remanded into the custody of the Orange County Jail to transfer you to the Department of Corrections, and I wish you the best of luck. State,
Wish you the
anything
best
further?
of luck.
Defense, anything further? All right.
He's like,
Thank you all very much.
go duck yourself. Wish you the best of luck. I'm giving you
off the
life in
record.
prison. But hey, I'm also going to give you credit for 4 months, 4 years, 9 months, and 8 days. You've got 30 days to file a notice of appeal, and you bet she will. Let's see what happens next with our favorite court officer. I was not expecting that, to be honest. I was not expecting him to give her a life sentence. I mean, maybe she should be expecting a phone call from Phelps. She would have been out in 10 years if she took the plea deal. This is like, it's like, let's make a deal when you're offered a plea like that. Do you want what's in the box or do you want what's behind the curtain? Because, I mean, we've seen sentences handed out by juries. This was the judge who made this decision. She was offered 15 years. She didn't take it. Pack your bags, Sarah, says John Little, no relation. He didn't say anything about the possibility of parole. Yeah, life with credit for time served is a joke, right? Kat says life is life in Florida. Wait, is there a hot mic moment with our favorite court officer? Justice for George, everyone. Everyone smash the like button, I promise you. MSP, North Canton PD will get your no parole in Florida. We'll get your DNA. Owens is like, I'm out of here. I'm leaving skid marks. Bye-bye. Too bad, so sad. They're going to give you a new attorney, Sarah, for your appeal. So there's that. At the cost of the defense, he didn't even wear. Oh, is it that cold in Florida? He's got like a not a puffy jacket, but like a quilted jacket. Well, if Peter said it, I believe it. No parole in Florida. Peter said it this morning. Lawyer,
She's on her way.
she's going away. They're like, okay.
Yeah, I got you.
Sophia's like, I honestly believe her own words got her life. She dug her own grave. Yeah, right. Alan Jackson's face fuzz. Judge had 5 years. Every time she said, I, me, added up to life. He might have been like, all right, I'm going to give her 25. And then the longer she kept talking about how she was now going to become like a prophet and wearing a crown of thorns. Thank you, Sherilyn, for the cash app. I appreciate you. Read. I'm a book says I still think he was a horrible person. I think they're both horrible people. Thank you for the super chat. Hanky calls bullshit. Took me 36 years to get out and he's still alive. I'm so sorry. Only 2 people know what happened behind closed doors, but one is no longer alive, says David Reese. You are correct. Agreed. Read. Appreciate the time I put into covering these cases. Thank you. Thank you for your super chat. I thought that the Jamie Komoroski, which by the way, did that sentence come out yet? Hang on, don't spoil it. Is that over? Hold on. Joseph Kane said, if I had another 10, will you periodically mute the ramblings of this absolute lunatic? No, I will not. All right, so she pled guilty, Jamie Lee, but I guess she didn't get sentenced today, yeah? Did they set a new date for sentencing? Because all the latest things that I'm looking at They don't say anything about whether sentence was imposed today. What say you? Anybody got their finger on the pulse of that? Mama Shay, thank you, said she needed her hair and makeup team for this. Oh, yes, she did. If you're just tuning in, welcome. Sarah Boone was just sentenced to life in prison, plus the cost of $600. She has to pay back $608. Thank you, Mama Shay. Oh, Elaine, thank you so much for your $100 super chat, for thanking me. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much. That's so very, I appreciate you more than you know.
Yeah, we'll file it, and then we already ordered to appoint another attorney.
Elaine, she's going to be drafting that notice of appeal like the second she gets back into her cell. She's got a legal pad and she's not afraid to use it. The speech that she gave today was one of the most narcissistic, crazy things I've ever seen at a sentencing. I didn't see the sentence part of the Komoroski thing. They're coming back into court right now? Hold on. Oh my gosh, you guys, we are pivoting. We are doing all of the things. Hold on. Going over. Here we go. Back to Komoroski. Bye-bye, Sarah. We're back now for the sentencing of Jamie Komoroski. I guess they took a break. Thank you, Elaine, for your 100. I appreciate you so much. Change the banner. We're not missing a damn thing today, you guys. We are on it. We are on real time. Guess the judge had to take a little time to think about it. You know, they can agree on a plea deal and say, all right, we'll agree to it. The judge doesn't have to agree to it, though. I mean, both sides can say, all right, 15 years, whatever. I don't know what it was that they agreed on. I don't know that it was made public, but the judge doesn't have to agree. And those victim impact statements were some of the most horrific, I think, that I've ever heard. Imagine a bride being killed on her wedding day by a drunk driver. Oh, I think you gotta
listen very intently to everything that has been presented to the court.
fix your
And I have taken into consideration the mitigation that has been presented. And based on what has been presented to the court, I find the following appropriate in the nature of sentencing. On the offense of reckless driving, reckless homicide, which is 2023 GS 103895, you're sentenced to the State Department of Corrections for a period of 10 years and $5,000 provided upon the service of 10 years. So, yeah. On both counts of felony DUI, great bodily injury, you're sentenced to the State Department of Corrections for a period of 15 years and $5,100 provided upon the service of 15 years. And on the offense of felony DUI with death, you're sentenced to the State Department of Corrections for a period of 25 years and $10,100 provided upon the service of 25 years. These sentences are concurrent with one another. You'll get credit pursuant to 241340 if that becomes applicable. And I think it is appropriate, and I queried Mr. Finch for a particular reason. It was not random. Our state legislature, in their infinite wisdom, amended 241340 to allow for time spent on monitored house arrest. And it was contemplated that a person get credit when they are basically in jail at home. And based on how Ms. Komoroski's home detention was structured, she was in jail, but for being at home. And I think it is appropriate that she receive credit for any time served on monitored house arrest or home detention. Those terms in my mind are interchangeable. From the period of 3/1/2024 through the present, and we'll calculate that and place it on her sentencing sheets. Again, these sentences are concurrent. I've ordered the ATU if that is available to her, and she will get credit for any time served pursuant to 24/13/40. Thank you all for your time and your attention today. Have a good afternoon. And I
Right.
will leave the clearance of the courtroom to security, so I would ask that everyone stay in place and allow Major Burnstead and those who are assisting him. Ma'am, you may want to leave any valuables you have with your family. Leave
She's
that
just
to
walking
them. So
out.
I would ask that everyone stay seated until the security does what they need to do in terms of clearing the courtroom. And if Mr. Curry at this time, the president, sees y'all get through doing that, if y'all could bring him in so we could take care of his matters.
This is South Carolina, so I don't know if she has to serve all 25. Some states you serve 80% and you're eligible for parole. Judge is like, if you have any valuables like a Chanel bag or anything, give them to your parents. I don't know that that's enough. I don't know. I mean, Sarah Boone just got life. Okay, this woman chose to drive drunk, killed a bride on her wedding day, and severely injured, maimed 3 other passengers in that golf cart. I don't know that that's enough. I don't know. We just watched Sarah Boone get life. What do you think? There's the groom. His uncle and his nephew also were in the golf cart. They were severely injured. South Carolina says only 8% ever get parole, K-Pick. So here's what happened if you're just tuning in. We were going to cover the trial of Jamie Lee Komoroski. Jury selection was supposed to start today in South Carolina. As we were going to start the Sarah Boone coverage, because we were going to pick this trial up after jury selection, as we were going to cover Sarah Boone, a half an hour before that started, we were advised, somebody in the chat nicely advised me that Jamie Lee Komoroski was taking a plea deal. And so we pivoted over to this and we watched Jamie Lee Komoroski, 27 years old, plead guilty to all the charges. She pled guilty to felony. I got to get through my Aiden Carney notes. This has been a day. Felony DUI with great bodily injury and death and or great bodily injury and reckless homicide. And she did receive the max because the max on that was 25 years. I think. I mean, unless my notes on the reckless homicide are wrong, because for some reason, I didn't write that down. She hadn't pled. I bet she'd get life. I mean, there's. So we pivoted over here. We watched some heart-wrenching. We watched the guilty plea, then we watched the heart-wrenching victim impact statements from the family members and the husband who became a widower on the exact same day that he got married. She was doing 65 in a 25. She was 3 times over the legal limit. She pled guilty, yeah. But, you know, she wanted everybody to think she's helping other alcoholics in prison. And her mother gave a very interesting speech about how her mother works with addicts and alcoholics. And she talked about enablers. And she talked about enabling. And we cried. We all cried. We had a good cry this morning before we went over to Sarah Boone and watched her ridiculous narcissistic speech in court. She is 27 now, Jamie.
Do you know where Mr. Cooper and
There's a beach wedding on Folly Island, I think, South Carolina. They were in a golf cart. We have some locals in the chat from Folly. Thank you, Miss B. That's right, Bob Bergman. Chris Albert killed a man. I think he only got 6 months. And he fled the scene and didn't turn himself in until like 30 hours later. He killed a young exchange student in the 90s. Right, Marianne, the family has a life sentence, so should she. Look at Elaine giving me $100, thanking me for my coverage. And then she says, here's another 50 to buy dinner since you've been here all day catering to us. I really appreciate your coverage. Thank you. That'll buy DoorDash for my family. I appreciate you so much. Give me the dirty Dr. Pepper from Sonic, Elaine. I really, really, really appreciate you. Cheryl, for gifting 10 memberships. Thank you so much. I'm just going to mute this in case anything happens. I don't know that it will. Gifting 10 memberships, and to the 10 of you who were so randomly gifted by YouTube, welcome. It's been a heavy, heavy day today. It's been a heavy day. Thank you, read, and read. I don't know. I think this is a little bit light. Read, and read. Thank you for the 5. I think this is a little bit light. 25 years. This family has a life sentence. This woman was killed on what was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. I heard, and I didn't watch those jailhouse calls because I wanted to watch this trial with you as a juror or juror. Since we're in South Carolina, they probably would have said jurors. And so I didn't listen to the jailhouse calls, and now I don't want to. Now I'm on strike. I don't want to. It seems like the family's okay with it. 3 times the legal limit. This is what happens. And I'm going to say this. I don't know anything about her parents. She's 27 years old, apparently. But you guys are saying her father's a bazillionaire. They're like from Jersey. I don't know what kind of upbringing she had. But the fact that this girl was out to 3 bars by herself is indicative of a major drinking problem. In a rental car, doing 65 and a 35, mows down a golf cart. And her mother, when her mother got up and gave the speech, the victim's mom, she did talk a lot about enabling. And I'm just going to point out, and I don't know if this is Jamie Lee Komoroski's situation, but when children do not ever have consequences for their behavior, stuff like this can happen. It's horrific. I don't know if that's what happened here, but we see a lot of cases like this in other places where children are they're like free range children. That's a whole style of parenting now, apparently, free range. No consequences for their behavior. Every time they get in trouble, their parents just bail them out, get them out of jail, make a phone call. How can we make this go away, right? How can we make this go away? And these kids that have no consequences for their behavior ever, just to think, and they are entitled, and they get out there, and then she could have killed 4 people. I mean, horrific. Cindy Camp said Jamie Komoroski's mom killed a firefighter in 2013 and no charges were brought against her. How did she do that? In her car? Well, thanks, Cindy. I didn't even see that super chat before I started talking about no ramifications for behavior, but that's insane. As BS crazy as Sarah Boone is, it's another example of crazy toxic relationship that resulted in death. What does this country come to? And that's what she said in her speech. She's like, if I was the one who died, would everyone be calling me a savior, a saint right now? And, truthfully, the answer is, yeah, maybe. It's crazy. This is why our children need to be taught about toxic relationships and red flags in relationships. And, your boyfriend or girlfriend laying hands on you is not okay at a very early age. It should be taught in schools. I don't know what this country is coming to, but I don't know if that it's just our country. And Joseph Kane said, that's okay. Here's the other 10. Thank you. Read, and read. I'm a book. Thanks for a 10. I can't figure out why people think justice for George. He was not a good person in the big picture. He didn't deserve to die, but my God, was he a horrible person? Well, because we have to show some empathy for the victims in every case, And like I said, if she was the victim or, the decedent, I guess we can say, I think there would be sympathy for her too. Read said again, I think it's so heartbreaking for everyone involved. This was about Komoroski, but I'm glad she pleaded guilty. That was the right thing to do. Thanks for covering this. Yeah, I had to. I felt like, sorry, but I felt like I made the executive decision that the Jamie Lee Komoroski case and Samantha Miller's death on her wedding day was more important to me than Sarah Boone. And you know what? We got right to Sarah Boone. We got right to her speaking during her sentencing. And we saw that part. And then we saw the sentence and we saw that all live. And if you guys want to go back and watch all the victim impact statements in that case, not that they're not important, but I made an executive decision and I'm sticking with it. And I think I made the right one. Thank you, Barbara, for your 20. And who said that she thought I was crying, but I wasn't. I mean, I did have some tears like before that, a tear or two, but also like I'm really tired and I didn't really put any makeup on at all this morning because I was running late. My kid missed the bus, 40 minutes each way to school, you know, the whole thing. So thank you so much for the 20. And that will also go towards the DoorDash. And I'm thinking Sonic. I'm thinking I need a dirty Dr. Pepper. Amy in Boston, I thanked earlier, but says people drive golf carts in my neighborhood in Norfolk County all the time. I know people were blaming like the golf cart on the street. Listen, in these islands in the South, oh, thank you, Scott. I'll take a look at that in a sec. People get around in golf carts. That's just what they do. I went to a wedding once on Defusky Island, which is down there. Planes, trains, and automobiles to get there, but everyone has a golf cart there. I don't know if there are a lot of cars, but there are some. So it's not unusual. A lot of people in Florida have golf carts. And read. The only way I can get rid of my nervous energy watching this is to spring clean in December. Heartbreaking. Well, your house is really clean by now, girl. I can't sit still watching this. That was Komoroski. I know. And thank you, Barbara, for another 10. Another long day. Another long day. And then Life on Makeup coming in with the Dave Matthews quote. You should never have to watch as your children are lowered in the ground. I mean, never have to bury your own babies. Grave digger. Thank you. Read says, in my opinion, Sarah Boone is a complete narcissist. There's no remorse or empathy. I believe that Jamie does and can be rehabilitated. It's true. Sarah Boone can't. I think Jamie can use the rest of her life to educate people. I kind of feel like apples and oranges. Like I feel like Sarah Boone was in a toxic relationship. I feel like Sarah Boone was an idiot, but I feel like Sarah Boone, like in a lot of ways, I think that was like a tragic misfortune. Again, drunk people. Again, alcohol is bad. Alcohol is bad. Alcohol is bad. It may be the root of all evil now in my head. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I feel like I have to digest it a little bit more before I can really like get my thoughts together. And also I'm really tired right now. So I just feel like, yeah, Jamie could, but she won't. Something is so funny, Auntie Bev. Yeah, I know. I feel like, I do feel like Sarah Boone was abused. And I also feel like Sarah Boone was an abuser, right? And both things can be true. And I think that alcohol is bad. And I think they were in a toxic relationship and they were both drunks and they both beat on each other. And who's to blame? Hide and seek gone wrong. Jamie made the conscious decision to get so drunk at however many bars that she went to that day, to the point where she was 3 times the legal limit. And I really want to know. They said she had no record and everything. How many things did she get out of? How many things did she get out of that she had no consequences for when she was growing up? I don't know, but I want to know. Okay. Thank you, Scott, for sending this to me. It says, drunk driver Jamie Komoroski's mom was involved in a 2013 crash that killed a firefighter. This was in May of 2023. This was in the New York Post. So 10 years ago, 2013, her mom was involved in a drunk driving accident in New Jersey. He was in a fire truck. The victim, he had been battling a fire, and the fire truck was partially blocking the northbound lane while flashing the emergency lights at the time of the crash. And that victim died at the scene. Oh, no, wait, no. That was Miller. Hold on. All right, so what kind of time did her mother do? Did they ever get to that? Hold on. The crash involving her mother, however, was deemed a tragic accident and no charges were filed. Within days of the 2013 accident, Hunterdon County prosecutor in New Jersey, Anthony Kearns, attributed the firefighter's death to a sudden wind shift that caused smoke from a controlled burn site to obscure the fire truck and emergency lights. That victim was a 35-year-old, 6-year veteran of the fire service and a 21-year veteran of the Reddington Township Volunteer Fire Company. But wait, was she drunk? Hold on. This is a cold read. None of the drivers reported injuries in that accident, and no tickets were issued at the scene. They said it was a tragic accident. Ten years ago. Tracy it said the mother did not respond to multiple messages from the post. No, she wasn't drinking? Okay. So it wasn't a drunk driving accident. Okay, so that could have been a tragic accident. I don't know. I wasn't there. I thought when I first heard about it, I thought maybe it was a drunk driving accident. So okay, all right. So no, she was not drunk. Okay, so that could have been a tragic accident. It absolutely could have been. So I am. Yeah, Skybell says I am like the Sarah Boone lawyer blaming the family of George. Yeah. Bubsy says Jamie engaged in post-offense behavior designed to mitigate her sentence. Jamie is capable of exhibiting sorrow for herself only. Yeah. Lisa says alcohol is the gateway drug and called spirits for a reason. Oh, it opens your spiritual vessel to entities. Sounds creepy, but it's true. It fractures the pineal gland and cord to our higher faculties. I mean, a lot of people say it's like ingesting poison. I don't know. Just that's what people say. Thank you again to Julie, who I addressed at the beginning. I just want to make sure I got all you guys. Coffee Girl says, I've loved being one of Mel's cupcakes for the last 11 months. Thank you, Coffee Girl. Yes. We're going to cover Ashley Benefield's sentencing tomorrow. Absolutely. It's in the afternoon. I don't know that there's been a decision on that juror issue. So how can they sentence her when he has not come to a decision on the juror issue and whether or not he's going to grant a new trial? Let me just check the court docket real quick, because I've been checking every day for that decision. And I wonder if that's going to happen tomorrow, because they've filed all these, pre-sentencing memorandums and all of their requests for mitigation and stuff on Ashley's case. Hang on. That's a lot of documents filed. No, they have a change of custody form in here. That's the last thing that was filed. And that just means that they took all the evidence and they moved it somewhere. So there's no decision on that juror issue yet. I don't know. I'm really confused. But yes, the answer is yes. I just got to put it up, make a thumbnail, all that kind of things and stuff. Don't drink and drive, says Laura. The life you saved might be mine. Bo Diddley said that. Thank you, Laura, for the 5. And then Trisha said, thanks for being here for a month, said, if you're ever in Prague, visit the Duck Boutique. All righty. And Cheyenne said, this is absolutely heartbreaking, and I cannot imagine worse circumstances. She was a beautiful bride. I know. So sad. Britt said, I have to say credit to Jamie for pleading guilty and not putting this family through the trial. Yeah. Also, respect. She is looking at mom. Yeah. The mother's statement was heartbreaking. If you didn't watch it and you feel like a good cry, go back and watch it. Every home in my neighborhood, Susie says, in Florida comes with a parking spot and electric charging for golf carts. Yep, they do. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Jenny, for your Venmo. I appreciate you. Says, just catching up on all your coverage today. Cupcake Boone got what she deserved, what she got. Felt Jamie should have gotten life as well because she showed no remorse for taking a life. I know. That's why I think I'm just going to be mad if I go listen to those jailhouse calls. I think it's just going to make me madder, right? You guys watched them. And Sherilyn and Amanda, thank you both very much. All right. So we're coming back tomorrow. Oh my goodness. And a 50 from read. So let's be honest. How many people actually drink and drive? There are a lot of people that drive drunk and pray that they get home in one piece. As we know, with the McAlberts and the MSP, people drive drunk all the time and they're lucky to not be Jamie. Well, say this. I will say this. I'm Gen X. And I will say that we were not taught as well as my kids. I have kids that are both millennials and whatever the next one is, Gen Z. My kids know not to drink. They just don't. There's Uber. They know about Uber. They use Uber. There's always a designated driver. I think that our children were brought up better than we were with regard to that. You can tell me if you think I'm wrong. Thank you so much for the 50, but you can tell me what you think. If I go out and I feel like, and I don't plan on drinking, but I do drink, I will leave my car somewhere and I never any shame in taking an Uber and going to get your car the next day. Never any shame in that, ever. Right? And Scott says that I just nailed it. Oh, thanks, Scott. I love that compliment coming from you. My nieces and nephews are great with that designated driver stuff. They are. I mean, there's always, I give my kids, some of them and other people, Uber gift cards for Christmas. It is a great stocking stuffer. Christmas, Hanukkah, give your kids Uber gift cards. Paying $30 for an Uber is about 5% of what it would cost you if you get pulled over to have to pay an attorney and everything else. It's worth it. Uber gift cards, great idea. Stocking stuffers, not even kidding. Oh, can somebody drop my Amazon link in the chat? Let me do that for you. If you guys would, if you could support the channel, this is an amazing thing. Just, you don't have to order anything from my wish list on Amazon or anything such as like that. But when you're doing your regular shopping, it's a great way to support the channel. Just click on my link and buy all the regular stuff that you're going to buy anyway. And somehow it gives me some sort of like, because I'm an Amazon influencer, it gives me some kind of like Amazon. It benefits the channel. Let's just put it that way. If I could find my own stupid link, I would give it to you. Okay, here we go. I'm going to drop it for you in the chat. You can just, oh, well, that's not what I just did. You can just do your regular shopping on that link. And that is a really, really awesome thing. If you guys would do that, I would really appreciate it. Cost you no more. Cost you no more. There you go. I'm going to pin it if you wouldn't mind, or I'm just going to put it there. And then if you feel like it, that'd be a great way to support the channel. If people are truly honest, they will speak the truth about drinking and driving. Please choose Uber. Yes. Yes. Yeah. People need to take a long, hard look. But, being in the line of work that I'm in, having represented victims of drunk drivers for over 30 years, not something I do. But I will say that when we were younger, we were raised a different way. We weren't taught that really so much in school until like Mothers Against Drunk Driving came around, right? Mothers Against Drunk Driving came around like in the 80s. And that is when they stopped serving beer at Jones Beach. And it was weird. Jones Beach Theater, you could only get beer in the VIP section, which I thought was a violation of due process and all. But, nobody listened to me. So, there's that. All right. We're going to come back tomorrow for Ashley Benefield. Everyone, please, if you wouldn't mind, smash the like button on your way out. Let's see who's live right now that we can teleport over to, because, it's a nice thing to do. A little cupcake raid, cupcake invasion. It's always good to send you guys somewhere to people that we love. So let me know if anybody's live right now. Thank you, Patriotic, for thanking me. Mothers Against Drunk Driving was 1980, huh? Yes. Oh yeah, you can get everything. You're shopping through your own account. It just has to do with like clicking on my link and then buying everything you're going to buy anyway. It's your Amazon account. You get everything that you would normally have. So yeah, there's no cost to you at all. It doesn't affect you in any way. All your settings and everything stay the same. Thank you guys for today. Thank you guys for understanding with me the importance of that Jamie Lee Komoroski case. And please, please teach your children well. Teach your children well. I cannot stress that enough. Where do you guys want to go? Do you want to go over to Young Jerks and hear him talk about, I don't know if it's just for America. I think it is. Oh, Tinkerbell from Ireland. Uber gift cards, yeah. Right. Yep. Get your earbuds. Get your earbuds for all of these crappy court feeds. Okay. I'm sending you to Young Jerks, everyone, so that you can talk about the Aiden Kearney hearing again. Oh, no. It's scheduled for a different day. No, that's not going to help us. Forget that. You know, I try and be nice, and there's nobody alive right now. He's not alive right now. I don't know. I feel like everybody's done with the Sarah Boone thing, and everybody's taking a little break. All right, that is it. That is all we are doing, my friends. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate you. It's been a long day. It's 4:30. This was 3 hours. We did Aiden Kearney's hearing this morning. If you didn't already watch it, go back and watch it. Smash the like button. Do all the nice things. Jamie Lee Komoroski was sentenced to 25 years. All right, everyone, go. Be gone. They are live right now. Really? I thought it said coming up. All right, hang on. Thought it said upcoming. All right, buckle your seatbelts. I'm sending you over to Young Jerks. Tell everyone over there, Cupcake Invasion, and tell Mike I said hi. Thank you all so much. Thank you, moderators. I love you. I love each and every one of you for watching me today and for all of your generosity and all of your grace and your cool and kind and classy nature, and rise above, my friends, rise above. Pull other people up with you. Oh, I had a feeling that you were previously Hanky Panky's Whittle Wanky. Change your name. I do the same with my kids. Uber's so worth it. Thank you for your 5. I kind of knew. All right, Young Jerks is live. Go on over there and support Mike. He's a really nice guy. All right, you guys, I'll see you tomorrow.